Let me start the recording. Let's switch screens. All right. So welcome back, guys. This is our 25th session of Ophion. 24 if you're going by the quote-unquote canon numbering system, but details. I don't really have too much in the way of announcements. I'm excited to resume play after our week break. You might notice that Mirthrin and Matic are currently not here. I'm hoping they will just kind of join up shortly after the session starts here. Also of note, you might see Pinek drop out about after an hour. We already know about that, so don't freak out if you see Pinek just disappear and we don't seem to really say anything about it. Other than that, Captain, I believe you have our log today.
All right. Captain's log, stardate 55512.6. I'm reminded of the Kobayashi Maru, although instead of Klingons, it's the Tholians. Thankfully, unlike the Kobayashi Maru, there does appear to be a way out, even though that way out is a 6-month voyage under the constant scrutiny of a Tholian dreadnought, a class Starfleet wasn't even aware existed until now. Still, they have sent a message through diplomatic channels to Starfleet. I have yet to hear official orders on the matter, but I assume they are something along the lines of, don't make this diplomatic situation any worse. However, we are a Starfleet vessel, so we are deviating from our course to respond to a Tholian distress signal from the nearby planet designated Cog B site, where 15 Tholians are reported as trapped. Our Tholian escort has refused to let us assist at first. However, it is apparent that there are no others nearby. It took some convincing of our handlers, but we have been given a tight timeline to rescue them. It has become apparent that crew morale is beginning to suffer this deep in Tholian space with minimal chance of proper R&R for 6 months. So before we arrive, I've decided to do something that Starfleet should have done before this ship launched. End log.
All right. So if I can read the situation, this is the promotion ceremony of Pinek, correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. Where would you like this to be held? Traditionally, it would be held in maybe the Duck, but if you wanted to do it on the bridge or someone else, just let me know.
I would think
In an airlock.
In an airlock.
Fire.
Hey, Mirthrin, you're just in time. We're all going to promote Pinek and then see how much alcohol it would take before he gets drunk. So let's head to the
getting inebriated while in the middle of Tholian space. I see no way this can go wrong.
Oh dear. All right, so where are you doing it?
Into the Duck, please.
Okay. Where is the Duck map? There it is. Don't mind me, I'll get everybody's token on there very shortly. All right. So
should we invite the Tholian as a goodwill gesture?
If the Tholian wishes to. Yeah, I think this is a Starfleet crew thing.
Let's see. Huh. Where is... Apparently I got rid of... Oh, nope, there's Beckett. Now where's Mirthrin? Alright, I have no idea where Mirthrin is, so I'll just drag a fresh token on.
Mirthrin's already on this page.
Is he? Where is he?
Top right.
I see him in the top right table.
Oh, okay. There he is. Yeah, that's the problem sometimes with the GM overlays. It makes, picking out what tokens are actually on the map hard. All right, I think every senior staff officer is there then. And let me adjust the stream overlay. There we go. So yeah, go ahead and run your ceremony.
All right. So, despite our circumstances and our situation, the role of a Starfleet officer is to excel in their duties. As a crew, we have faced many challenges in our 10 months together, and discovered things that many crews can only dream of in their years of service. Through this all, this man has exemplified Starfleet's virtues of courage, intelligence, inquisition, and logic. Lieutenant Commander Pinek, it has been an honor and a pleasure to have you as my first officer, and I am pleased to call you my friend. I present to you the rank of Commander, with the rights and responsibilities thereof, but you've already been doing those parts of the job already. So, congratulations. And I'll take the pip out, and I guess I'll just remove the black pip and put on a gold pip.
Excellent. And of
Thank
course,
you, Commander. Captain. I'll step forward and receive the pip from him. This advancement in rank is not merely an honor bestowed upon me. It is for the entire crew of the Ophion. Though my duties remain unchanged, symbolically I am charged with a greater duty. I must now strive to be the commander this ship deserves, and do all I can to safeguard any and all that call her home. My crew members, my friends, I will not let you down.
and there is a thunderous round of applause as everyone present, just very politely and very enthusiastically claps. Though I imagine Beckett is just plotting a new way to off Panek, but you know.
Not true at all. Beckett will actually walk up with 2 drinks, one in each hand one to Panek, and then tell him congratulations, welcome to the ever-present and massively overworked rank of commander, and then I will kind of offer the cup to like tink glasses or cheers, whatever you want to call it.
I'll take the, but I won't drink.
Oh dear. All right. So, not to cut your celebration short, but you are kind of on a timeline here. So, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of time to try and get Panek drunk before you will arrive at the planet.
There will be 6 months of drinking after this.
Indeed.
I guess this would be as best of a place to do it. While the captain and Panek are together, Beckett will also. Captain, there is something I need to tell you.
Yes, Commander.
Our recent, new addition to the Ophion Orphans Club, Svarja, came into sickbay.
Yes.
And telling me of that she was suffering chest pains, as well as problems with her heart. After doing a cursory scan, she has a large amount of shrapnel sitting around her spine and her heart, which has caused her heart to, not beat correctly. I'm telling you this, and I'll nod to Panek, to both of you, seeing as how now that she's a part of the crew, you are her commanding officers. I'm having this talk more to let you know that I will be performing surgery on her today, and you will be without me for a matter of hours. And also, unfortunately, due to cultural restrictions, she doesn't want anybody basically in the operating room with me.
Okay.
Ensign Vara will handle any and all sickbay calls that we need. I have utmost confidence in her to be able to do so, and if not, we can pull medical staff from another shift to cover.
I'm afraid that your timing on this is not very good, Doctor. We're only about 3 hours away from rescuing the Tholians, and I was hoping to have your medical expertise on site. However, if you believe that your duties are better served with Svarja, then
it isn't something that is dire. So she has apparently dealt with both of these problems since before she was went into the tank. So it is something that needs to be done and quickly, but I respect your decision. I will let her know that it will have to be postponed. And I didn't know the situation we were in because, nobody calls sickbay to let me know that we're going to rescue people that are trapped.
I'm just gonna look at at our newly promoted Commander Panek. Commander Panek, your first assignment as commander is to improve communications between bridge and sickbay.
I will see about doing that, Captain. Commander Beckett, is her physiology compatible with our stasis equipment?
I would believe so. Everything, all of the data that I've got from the stasis unit she was already in, they're fairly similar. I mean, I could put her in stasis, but as I said, it's not something that is dire or life-threatening, as in she's going to die at any second. She can also, it's not anything that's really stopping her from performing her duties. Her people, I guess, are used to dealing with this kind of thing, and as far as doctors go, their family units, each one has their own doctor, so they really only see their family for medical problems. So if they are deployed somewhere, get hurt, they don't have it fixed until they get home. So
This is inefficient.
Highly. But she came to me out of trust that, as she put it, the head doctor on board the ship, to basically serve as her family doctor. But as I said, this is something that can wait, but it needs to be handled as soon as we can possibly do it.
Once we reach the planet and get a better understanding of the situation, Doctor, we can decide if your talents are better served on the planet or inside Sfarja.
Phrasing.
Beckett is going to pause and kind of tilt his head and, Captain, there's an ancient Earth term that's called phrasing. I believe you should look into it when you have time. But I understand your caution and your train of thought on this.
Very well. I'll enjoy the rest of your ceremony here, Mr. Panek. You've earned it. I'll go to the bridge and see what's going on up there.
And I will go to sickbay and prepare supplies and myself to be a part of the away team for wherever we're going.
Roger that. All right. Does anyone else have any scenes they wish to get out of the way before you arrive at the Cognizite system?
Nope.
Okay. In that case, we will cut back to the bridge, because I actually do have a very quick sort of sidebar between the captain and Shatsu. Captain, as you come back onto the bridge, Shatsu does kind of pull you to a side. Not into your ready room or anything, so it's, not a super private conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But Shatsu does say, Sir, I believe it would be remiss of me as head of security and tactical on the ship to point out the fact that we are en route to a research outpost in distress, escorted by a dreadnought of a species that is extremely xenophobic. I don't want this to happen, but I do foresee a possibility that it could very well end up that the Adelicite might try to destroy the Ophion to keep Tholian secrets.
It's an entire possibility. We have determined that we can outrun the ship, the Adelicite, correct?
Yes, sir, but the problem is they would...
There will be more Tholians.
Right, sir, there would be more Tholians, and the fact that whenever we would drop back down to our normal cruising speed, it is very well possible they could catch up to us. We really don't know the full capabilities of their dreadnought.
I understand. Can you please ask their ambassador Grarine to the bridge?
Well, she's actually in the back room at the moment, so that should be pretty easy.
Well, that is highly convenient.
It's kind of odd. She showed up as if expecting us to be there already. I guess that's what they call Tholian punctuality.
She has full access to see how fast we're going, as well as our current headings. I wonder if there's such a thing as Tholian impatience.
Honestly, sir, I think that is kind of their thing.
I'm starting to see that. I'll just tap my comm badge and how far out? How far out from the facility are we?
Sona kind of turns her head and says, "We are approximately 10 minutes before arrival in system, sir.
Okay.
After that, should be a fairly quick 15-minute journey at impulse to the planet."
And out of character, is the Adrelicite following us?
Oh yeah,
Or
so
I figured they would be.
the
Okay.
Adelicite is keeping up station keeping, quote unquote, right off your port bow.
Okay. Ambassador Grarine, could you please report to the bridge?
So she literally steps out of the back room where she is on the map, and just kind of lingers in the back, out of the way, but definitely observing everything that's going on.
Ambassador, I once again thank you and your people for allowing us to assist your people in their time of distress. However, I understand that there's potentially secrets that you wish to keep confidential. What protocols do you wish us to follow?
There is a pause, and Locke and Hylong would probably detect a small burst of radiation, because I'm going to give that to you free. And after this burst of radiation, the ambassador says, "You are not to download any information you may find on the outpost's computer systems. You are not to attempt medical assistance of any injured Tholians. Any injured Tholians are to be brought to the Adelicite immediately for medical treatment."
I understand. And I make the mental note that I guess the doctor can begin surgery on Svarja. Very well. Has Locke returned to the bridge yet from the festivities?
Probably.
I just made a quick round of the people there, said some pleasantries, and showed face, and then excused myself. So,
Of course. I assume by now the senior staff then is back on the bridge. Mr. Locke, can you tell us what we're seeing, please?
Right. I'll still at the very far end of sensor range, so I'm just starting to pull up the information now. Again, I have my computer set to read only, so I'm not storing any data. I scan from the immediate region.
Okay.
Once
Oh,
it
by
leaves
the
my
way,
it's gone.
I forgot to mention this, but I would think that sometime between the last day and a half, engineering was able to restore your regular console.
Oh,
So
good.
you no longer have to linger behind Pinect 24/7 to do your job. All right. So I'm going to preemptively put you on this map. Just so as you scan, I can sort of point out things. Let me zoom out. All right. There
I
we go.
know it's a touchpad, but it doesn't seem. It seems better to be at my own station than a different one. Even though I know all the controls are the same, it just doesn't. It feels more responsive here. I know it's all in my mind, but
All right. Why is that on there? Oh, because I put it on the wrong layer. Duh. All right. So of course, you drop out of warp on the edge of the Cogbosite system. Kind of the distance you're seeing on the map at the moment. Obviously, the planet is not to scale. And yeah, Locke, if you want to kick us off with what is probably the most standard roll we've ever done, so reason plus science, and whoever's doing the ship, please do sensors plus science. The difficulty here will be a 1. Would you look at that?
I can roll ship.
All right. All right, so you guys have 2 momentum. So Locke, you run a scan of the system, and the first thing that sticks out to you is that there are distortions in the space-time continuum in the immediate area. More specifically, since you succeeded so well, I can now put these on the screen. So each of these bubbles that you're seeing is a temporal anomaly. And if I had to make a comparison, if you remember the episode of TNG where I think it was Picard, Geordi, the counselor, and I forget who else. Basically, they were coming back from a conference, and they found sort of the Enterprise frozen in time, but there was also like pockets of accelerated space-time between point A and point B. Very similar situation here, and you're detecting that the source of these anomalies, or at least the frequency of such, grows more prevalent the closer you get to the planet.
But I suggest recommend full stop right now, Captain. I'm detecting a temporal anomaly straight ahead.
Sona?
Detecting a
Stop.
Second.
Yeah, Sona.
Detecting at least a good dozen around the whole planet.
Yeah, so Sona immediately brings the Ophion to a full stop, and the Adelisite does much the same. And after a moment, you do get a hail from the Adelisite.
I'm already going to signal Locke to send them our data.
Okay.
Open the hailing open hailing frequencies.
All right, so
Channel open, Captain.
on screen you do see the blue Commander Nostrine, and even though the Universal Translator doesn't necessarily add inflection to Tholian translated speech, I'm going to say you can still pick up a fair bit of annoyance and maybe even a little bit of anxiety as Nostrine speaks. And he says, Ophion, are your readings coinciding with ours, and that there are breaches in space-time?
We are seeing the same. Currently, I'm working with our navigation officer to see if we can't plot a course through them safely. I regret that on early analysis, your ship might be too big to make its way through unscathed.
That is our assessment as well. I think it is worth mentioning, Captain, that we find such disturbances in space-time unacceptable. These anomalies must be contained, if not outright eliminated, as soon as possible.
Very well. Then perhaps your crew can focus on these space-time anomalies while I take the ship in and rescue your researchers who may have greater insight into what caused it.
How do I want to do this? So Nostrine thinks for a few moments and says, "We will allow the Ophion to journey to the planet, as of course you are the only ones that can squeeze through these anomalies. However, if you attempt to flee or otherwise escape your escort, we will fire upon you."
We've pretty much assumed that will be the response. I've given my word that we will accept escort out of your space, and we intend to stick to our word.
Understood. You are also to check in every 2 hours to ensure that progress is being made.
Understood. Ophion out.
Captain, are we expecting casualties that we need to be sending to the Tholians?
I hope not. I really hope not. But it is a distress situation after all. We'll take the full Ophion in, and if we need to set up escort, we can use the Argo or the Valkyrie. That's what we're calling it now, the Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
Sona, can we plot a course through these temporal minefields?
I believe so, sir.
Very well. Take us through safe impulse. Mr. Locke, please scan the planet and see if we can't figure out what's going on the surface.
All right. So before Locke does his scan of the planet, we do need to kind of do an extended task here to see how well you get through the anomalies. Of course, as an extended task, this has a work track of 12, a magnitude of 3, a base difficulty of 3, and the base or the default task is either a control plus con on the part of Sona, or a reason plus science on probably the behalf of Locke. Obviously, Sona's is actually piloting the ship, and the reason and science is helping chart the anomalies. So who would
Sona
like
taking
to
the lead makes the most sense with me assisting with the sensors.
Mm-hmm. So who would like to roll for Sona, and who would like to roll first?
I'll grab that sheet.
Okay.
Once I actually figure out where her character sheet is.
Hopefully it's still under supporting characters.
Yep, found it.
Our
Control plus
journals
con.
just keep getting bigger and bigger.
I know, I'm tempted to dump or transfer all of our new onboards to Deep Space Daedalus next time we dock.
You certainly could.
Alright, difficulty 3, so... Oh, let's try it without any momentum at first, see how that goes.
Yeah, we do have Ship and Me.
Alright, so 2 successes already from Sona. You got 1 from Locke. Alright. So, go ahead and roll, 2 plus 4. So Sona rolls 6 challenge die to see how much work gets done.
Wouldn't the ship also exist with, like...
Oh, right. That is the one thing I forgot to note down. If someone wants to roll a engines plus con from the ship, you might get some momentum.
Sure. Plus con.
All right, you get a momentum. Look at that.
All right.
Okay. Mirthrin, since you are running Sona, you do have the option of spending a momentum to re-roll those 3 zeros.
I think I'll do that. That has the potential to go quite well.
All right. Hey, would you look at that? So that is 7 work done. So you achieve a breakthrough, which lowers the difficulty down to 2. And narratively, what happens is you guys kind of fly right about here, and you more or less squeeze on through to about this square here. And yeah, go ahead and let's do one more task, because honestly, I think that's all you're gonna need. And let's see what happens. All right, solid 2 from Sona.
And the ship will do.
Oh, another amazing 2 from Locke.
Amazing that the chronoton sensors are doing an excellent job of picking up the temporal anomalies. They're like beacons.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I believe you guys get 2 momentum. No, 3 momentum, because the difficulty was lowered to 2. So you guys are up to 5 momentum already. The extended task is doing its job. All right, so yeah, go ahead and do the work roll for Sona. Still 6 challenge die. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So with that, yeah, you definitely make it through the worst of the temporal anomalies, and you are able to get to about here. And let me just double check to make sure there's nothing on this map you shouldn't see yet. All right. So after that, I am going to push you guys onto this map as you enter orbit of the planet itself. All right, so The planet itself, Cogbosite 2, as a refresher, it is a Class M world, and you are aware that the Tholian outpost is located on the eastern sort of hemisphere of the planet, kind of where the marker is already on the planet. But Locke, now that we are sort of above the planet proper, if you do want to do another reason plus science, and of course the ship assists with sensors plus science, this time the difficulty is going to be a 4.
I'm gonna spend a couple of few momentum to. I'm just gonna spend 1 momentum. I'll be greedy here. Scan the crap out of the planet.
You do scan the crap out of the planet. Wow.
Whoa.
Okay, so that's you stay at 5 momentum. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a few things, and remember, you are the science officer last I checked, so I believe you get, what is it, a free question?
Yeah.
So what you find is that very similar to the surrounding space-time, there is a set of temporal anomalies that intersect the planet. More specifically, hopefully you all now see the pink line.
Yep.
Correct.
That is a very pink line.
All right, so basically what the pink line represents is the boundaries of the 2 major splits in time. Now, again, because you succeeded so well, you are able to determine that the rate of time is flowing differently in each one. And I'm going to say that the Eastern Hemisphere bubble you're detecting might be in the past, and the one to the Western Hemisphere might be in the future. And this information would be gathered from your lovely chronoton sensors.
Well, the computer does not like scanning this planet, but the sensors are thankfully translating what would otherwise be a massive data. It looks like the planet is displaced in time. I would not want to be crossing that border on foot.
And what does what does the sensor readings from the research center or research station yield?
Yeah, okay, first question. Yeah, what's up with the Tholian outpost? Am I detecting? It's in the past, right? So this be? Is it intact type thing? Am I detecting like obvious signs of damage?
Right. I just got to remember, because I got to answer this truthfully, but I don't want to give too much away. You are detecting the outpost from the surface or visual level. It doesn't seem to be in any distress. However, I would say that even though you're not an expert in temporal mechanics, if it is indeed the case that the outpost is in the past, it could very well be the case that whatever caused the distress signal to need to be sent out in the first place might not have even happened yet.
And they're going to be confused when a Federation ship suddenly beams down to help.
So extreme problems, because if we prevent whatever catastrophe causes this event, they won't send the stress call. We'll have a horrible paradox in our head.
And that was the other thing I forgot to mention. Transporters are extremely discouraged here. Of course, if you really want to, you can try. Mostly, yeah. If you do go down to the planet, you're probably going to want to take a shuttle.
Captain.
Not surprising. Yes, Commander.
I would advise us to apprise the Adelicite of our discovery. These Tholians on the outpost could be temporarily displaced, and we would require their assistance in dealing with them.
I believe that is a wise course of action. Transmit our findings back to the Adelicite, please. And Ambassador Grarine, if you would please ask for your species protocol on dealing with potentially temporally displaced individuals.
Well, Captain, as the commander said, any temporal displacement is unacceptable. Whatever is causing the displacement needs to be solved as soon as possible, regardless of the cost.
Understood.
Can I spend a momentum to figure out how much time displacement is going on? Like, is it like days, weeks, months, years?
I'll allow it if you do spend the momentum, yeah.
Okay, momentum spent.
Actually, and this might be too much of a teaser, but if you give me another momentum, I'll give you another interesting tidbit about the Eastern Hemisphere.
Tidbits for tips.
I'm for it. All in favor?
I have
it.
favor.
Okay, so 2 momentum spent. What's the interesting tidbit?
So,
Plus
the interesting tidbit, before I tell you, how displacement and time things are, there is a Starfleet signal coming from the Eastern Hemisphere. And what you detect, again, because you have chronoton sensors, they kind of easily figure out this sort of thing. If the sensors are right, the Eastern Hemisphere is in the 25th century. And the Western Hemisphere is largely in a... What is it? They are 2 weeks behind the current star date.
Oh,
So,
temporal displacement doesn't seem to be that bad, Captain. There only seem to be a couple weeks behind. And actually, I retract that statement. I'm detecting a 25th century Starfleet 7. Oh.
I'm sorry. My symbiote might be playing tricks on my hearing. Could you repeat that last phrase, Lieutenant?
I'm detecting a Starfleet signal from the Western Hemisphere that does seem to be coming from the 2400s.
Okay. That's unexpected. Is there any identifying information from the Starfleet signal?
Still picking up.
Ship personnel, crashed vessel, station?
What type of signal is it?
It is just a normal sort of power signature. Yeah, I would say that it's definitely not like a distress call or anything of that nature. You are simply reading a Starfleet power signature on the planet.
All right. Well, first things first, we need to investigate the Tholians, and I'm hoping that we can maintain the integrity of the Temporal Prime Directive and not have to investigate the Starfleet signal.
I suspect Liaison might have different opinions.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, entirely possible.
So Grarine will almost like straight up interrupt you and say, the presence of Starfleet on this planet is also extremely unacceptable. I demand that we figure out why they are present and deal with their presence as soon as possible.
Well, we are in your space after all, and you have given us great leeway to come here in the first place. Sona, prepare the Type 11... conditions of the planet are... Is it any major storms? Can a Type 11 weather the time bubble perfectly fine? Sona?
So she kind of works for a few seconds and says, I believe the transition between bubbles will be somewhat turbulent, but I am confident in my abilities to prevent a crash or otherwise major damage to the shuttle.
Very well. Prepare a shuttle. Mr. Locke?
Should we send down 2 teams, 1 to each side?
Simultaneously. That might disrupt communications, and for the moment, whatever is going to happen to that station hasn't happened yet. I'm more than happy to maintain a single investigation team for the time being, rather not split our efforts yet. Mr. Locke, please join us on the away mission. Bridge to Murthrin.
Murthrin here. Go ahead, Captain.
Prepare for a temporally charged investigation into what Starfleet's future might look like.
There's a brief pause, and then the comm comes back. Can you elaborate on that, Captain?
We're detecting a Starfleet signature from the 25th century on that planet. I'd like you to join us in the shuttle bay for investigation.
You do not hear the small whining sound that Murthrin makes because he doesn't turn the comm on for it. Understood, Captain. I will be there shortly.
I turn to Panek. I'm aware of the regulations about captains going into potentially dangerous situations, Commander, but this is the Temporal Prime Directive, and if anyone's going to violate it, it may as well be me.
Also, considering the Tholian predilection for authority and shows of force, I don't think they would say anything less than a captain being present.
I'm glad we're in agreement. The bridge is yours. Bridge to sickbay.
Sickbay here, Captain.
We're heading down to the planet. We're investigating an unknown Starfleet signature. I'd like to have either yourself or another medical officer present, just in case.
Understandable, Captain. Is Commander Panek going, or is he staying with the ship?
Commander Panek is taking the con. I'll be leading this expedition.
Very well, Captain. I will come myself.
Very well. Mr. Locke. And I think that's everybody. Let's see. Yeah, because...
Meaningful cough behind your shoulder from Green.
Yeah, I was going to say, Green is not said anything yet, but...
may as well ask. Green, are you interested in joining us?
Is there room on your shuttle?
Let's see. There will be 5 humanoids plus a larger Tholian. It will be a cramped fit, but yes, you are welcome.
Then I shall join you as well.
Very well.
All right. So I think that's everyone. Everyone see a token that they could use, or did I miss anybody on the away team?
Smash cut to everyone crammed in the shuttle and Murthrin sort of wedged up between the Tholian and the bulkhead.
Should we perhaps take the larger shuttle, the Valkyrie, for space reasons?
Yeah, if it doesn't look like we're going to need medical transports right back to the ship, I don't see why not.
Right.
Well, can't the Valkyrie also do the medical transports?
It could. Both can.
I mean, technically, if you leave the Argo buggy back on the ship, you have a big open space to keep people and supplies in.
Yeah, that was one of my first initiatives as captain, was to turn that into a multi-mode vehicle. So there would be maybe not a luxury transport compartment, but at least a higher capacity transport availability. So yeah,
I'm just picturing it now with like shag carpeting and a little mirror ball.
That's only
the
on
Austin
Sundays.
Powers jet.
All right. Okay. So, all of you head into the shuttle. Sona takes you on out and begins flying down to the planet. Now, as Sona said, there is going to be some expected turbulence, sort of piercing the temporal bubble on this side of the planet. So, Panek, since this would probably be the character for you, why don't you do Sona's rolls? And the task here is going to be a daring plus con at difficulty 3. And under Ophion sheets, there should be a generic shuttle sheet as well. The shuttle may assist with engines plus con. And if I didn't already
What was the
say,
difficulty?
the difficulty is a 3.
I roll 3 dice, right?
Unless you spend a momentum, you default to 2.
I'm all for spending momentum on this.
All right, then I'll spend 1.
Okay.
Helm operations, small craft focus.
Oh, yeah.
Ouch.
Okay. Complication. Who's
Hopefully
rolling?
the shuttle can pull through.
Yeah, hopefully generic shuttle can pull through.
I can roll shuttle. And that was engines plus con.
Yes. Oh.
Oh.
So this is going to be interesting.
Well, I think we know where the Starfleet signal came from. It's the shuttle as we crash.
It's the bootstrap paradox all over again. Oh dear. All right. So narratively, what happens?
Beethoven's Fifth.
Oh yeah, Beethoven's Fifth, another good example. Anyway, so you all fly down to the planet, and even though there's not like a visual difference between inside and outside of the bubble, as soon as the shuttle passes through, there is a sudden upheaval that the inertial dampeners are not able to compensate for. And immediately the left nacelle begins to leak plasma. And Sona reports in a very calm voice, because she is an android. She says, "Sir, we are approximately 30 seconds out from a crash. I would recommend bracing yourselves."
Ambassador, I hope that your exosuit has magnetic clamps. This is going to hurt.
So Green doesn't really say anything, but you do see that she takes a wider stance. And whether or not that's gonna do anything for her is we'll find out. So out of the front view screen or the front window, you see the surface of the planet rapidly approaching, and Sona does her best to level out and try to reduce the upcoming crash into the planet. But yeah, kind of as Locke goes, "Oh you hit the planet." And I'm going to roll, 6 challenge die, 1 for each of you. And if I roll an effect, something minorly bad might happen to you. So let's see. All right, so first 0 is Skull, second 0 is Mirthrin, Sona, Beckett, Locke. You are a lucky winner once again.
Oh, goody.
This is me every time I play. I've lost so many D&D characters.
So obviously the crash is tremendous, and everyone is thrown about the cabin and slammed into bulkheads. Locke, you...
Mirthrin somehow ends up wrapped around one of Grorine's legs.
Yeah. Locke, you definitely take a hit much harder than anyone else. And while you... How do I want to say this? Your arm is in extreme pain from the shoulder down, and a cursory look at it would seem to suggest that it is either dislocated or a few bones might have been outright broken. So Beckett would have to take a look, but mechanically, until this injury is healed, your complication range on all tasks is going to be 18 to 20.
Okay. I just got my arm healed, didn't I?
Yeah.
Here, let's even. It's the same one. Yeah. Why is it always my left arm?
Status report. Everyone okay?
No.
Locke, please stop screaming.
Ow!
I appear to be operational, Captain.
Ow! 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 Ow!
I am good and already working on Locke.
Okay. Go ahead and let's do a reason plus medicine. We'll make it a difficulty 1. It's fairly obvious what's wrong.
All right. I happen to like reason plus medicine checks. Would you also acquiesce to emergency medicine being a
focus? Yeah.
a focus? All right. I just wanted to use the word acquiesce. That's all.
All right, so you get 2 momentum. Yeah, so as I said, the problem is both dislocation and a hairline fracture. I forget what the bone is called, but the one that's where your bicep is. God, I probably should have looked that
femur.
up, but no, femur's the leg.
Is it?
Tibia,
Oh.
maybe?
Yeah,
Bicep. It's not the. I'll look it up because it's my arm.
yeah. I was gonna say. Either way, it's a hairline fracture of the bone. It's treatable with the supplies you have on hand. It would simply just
The
take
humerus.
about
The humerus, yeah.
the humerus. Okay, yeah, it would take maybe about 10 minutes of time, and to fix Locke's arm. However, even if it is fixed, Locke will still suffer a complication rate of 19 to 20 until you properly set the bone back on the Ophion.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just gonna immediately start hypospray for the pain, and then start working on him to try to put it back together at least until I can, get him back to the Ophion.
Okay.
And control in medicine or reason in medicine for that?
Let's do control and medicine. Again, difficulty 1.
Okay.
Just because I like to see you guys have momentum for this.
I remember correctly, I think for emergency first aid type stuff in the field is actually daring. But I could be completely misremembering.
No, you're probably right. I'll allow either.
Okay. I was gonna say I think daring is if we're actually in combat, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So that's some more momentum.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I will look at Locke after kind of patching him up, and I know I'm usually pretty good with jokes, but I have nothing humorous to say right now. And then I'll give him the hypo spray for the pain.
So is it 2 momentum or 1?
2.
Next time, before you make jokes like that, you should drug me first, and then make the puns.
I'll nod. That's actually a really good idea. See, that's why you're the intelligence officer, and I kind of pat him on the shoulder that's hurt.
Ah!
Oh, poor Locke. Poor Locke.
Sona, how far are we from the from the Federation signal?
You are approximately 5 kilometers.
Murthrin, any chance this ship will fly in anytime soon?
Signs point to
Maybe.
possibly.
That's not a good answer, Chief.
Well, and he sort of extricates himself from where he's ended up, sort of crumpled up underneath Green. Well, give me half an hour to go over the ship systems, and I'll be able to give you a better answer.
Very well. I opened the. I hit the door release button so that we can get outside.
Okay.
And I'm shaking. Anyone who actually cares to listen to me mutters under my breath. This is how my third host died. This is not how I'm going to die. Bang the hatch open and step outside with phaser
I
in
could
one hand.
calculate the odds of us perishing, Captain.
Never tell me the odds. Phaser in one hand, tricorder in the other.
Damn it! I was gonna say that, and I was muted.
Oh dear.
So I take a Are these sensors still working in the shuttle, or is it completely out of power?
The power, the shuttle still has power. It's the problem is that the port nacelle is damaged and leaking plasma, even though it's, you guys have crashed already. Actually fixing the nacelle would probably take, we'll say, somewhere between 6 to 12 hours worth of work if you can find some spare parts.
I want to do a quick scan and find out how far away we are from the settlement, like lay of the land.
Okay. Go ahead and do a reason and science. And the shuttle will assist with sensors and science, which isn't great for a shuttle, but, something. I'm going to make the difficulty here only a 2.
I'm going to use my collaboration science to give Locke the temporal mechanics focus for this role, if that would work.
Sure.
Good.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's see if the shuttle can pull on through.
What's the roll?
Sensor science from the shuttle.
Okay. Someone else rolling that?
Oh, I have the sheet. I could do that. Sorry. Sensors plus science.
All right.
Nope, sensors are damaged too.
Yeah, so the sensors are... Let me put it this way. You didn't upgrade the shuttles with chronoton sensors. So obviously the temporal displacement is playing havoc with the sensors, and you're not getting a clear and concise reading.
I am detecting the Starfleet signal in 4 different locations, all simultaneously, and they're phasing out in and out of existence in a quantum state. So.
Then we're not going to go anywhere until we can get a better picture of the lay of the land. Merthin, please start doing what you can with the ship. Locke, Sona, please figure out the sensors. And I'm going... What's the terrain like?
Oh, so as you step out of the shuttle, Captain, you see what is the equivalent of a tropical rainforest. Obviously, there is sort of a skid mark along the tree line proceeding from the back of your shuttle where you've crashed. But otherwise, it is a very lush jungle. There's lots of greenery. It is somewhat humid, not entirely unpleasant, but it's also not... Starfleet uniforms aren't exactly known to be comfortable in muggy conditions. You also hear the sounds of alien creatures and alien insects amongst the greenery. And there's also this sort of cool breeze that comes from the west that sort of rustles the leaves and, gives more ambiance.
How tall are the trees?
The trees are about the size of a earth redwood, so they're pretty big.
They are very big. Is it possible to try to climb one to get to a higher vantage point?
I would say if you had climbing equipment with you, it would be fairly trivial, but last I checked, Skull doesn't exactly have climbing as a focus.
No, he has very little in the way of physical attributes as...
Yeah.
So there's no trees with escalators, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you still want to try to scale a tree, it would be like a...
I'm sure Starfleet is working on that technology.
If you still wanted to try climbing a tree, I'd say that'd be like a fitness con or a fitness security. But the difficulty would be probably a 3 or a 4.
Okay. Skull to Ophion?
Ophion here.
Actually, you do not get a reply from the Ophion.
Never mind, Captain. I'm not here.
Because we don't have chronoton sensors, so we can't compensate.
Mm-hmm.
This is Captain Barton Skull on any Starfleet frequency. Is anyone able to hear me?
So you actually do get a response. It's just not from the Ophion.
Yeah.
Your hail is answered by what sounds like a human male, and the voice says, "This is Captain Ukai of the USS Majestic. Please identify yourselves."
I am Captain Barton Skull of the USS Ophion NCC NCC 74851. We are investigating a temporarily out of place Starfleet signature, and our ship has crashed.
There's definitely a pause, and after a moment, Ukai comes back, and I'm gonna put his name in chat so that we can butcher it properly. So, go away, Jet. I don't want you flying overhead. Like I said, there was a pause, and Ukai comes back and says, "The Ophion, if our database is correct, you are from the 24th century."
That is correct. We are investigating a temporal error in what is, in our time, Tholian space. We detected the Starfleet signature, and this has riled our Tholian guest, who demanded we investigate this signal over ensuring the safety of their own people.
Well, Captain, I believe I have most of the answers you're seeking. However, perhaps it would be best if we met face to face. Where are you exactly? Are you in orbit? Are you on the planet already?
We are crash landed on coordinates ... whatever they are.
Okay. You said you came in a shuttlecraft, yes?
That is correct. In my time, my ship is in orbit around this planet.
Excellent. Well, we will send a shuttlecraft of our own to tractor you to the Majestic.
You are aware, of course, of the preservation of the temporal prime directive, correct? Is that still a thing in the 25th century?
It is indeed, Captain, but I believe that is something we can discuss face to face.
All right. Be aware that we do have a Tholian present, and Tholians do not take kindly to temporal problems.
There's almost like a chuckle, and he says, "I am very familiar with the Tholians' attitude when it comes to time travel."
Very well.
And yeah.
Well, we shall await your arrival.
All right, Captain Ukai out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the shuttle, Murthrin is looking incredibly nervous.
Yeah, I'm going to stick my head back in and say, "So, do you guys want the good news or the bad news?"
And Murthrin sort of says, "Well, considering I'm currently trying to work out whether we're going to get in more trouble with the Tholian Assembly or the Temporal Investigation Bureau, let's just rip the bandage off. What's happened?"
So I've made contact with the Starfleet in this era, and they will be sending a ship down to perform rescue and repairs.
Oh, great! It's not just an outpost. There's a ship as well.
There appears to be a Federation presence in orbit, and I'm going to look at Ambassador Gran and say, "Ambassador, I'm not sure what the current political situation is in this time. I'm pretty sure that you are riled up about it, but understand that right now, we are the temporal incursion. And we will attempt to return to our own time as soon as possible."
How do I want to say this? Gareen comes back and says, "I will remain a passive observer for the time being. However, it is important that we understand the presence of this Starfleet vessel on our planet."
Understood.
All right.
I'm going to quickly turn to Sona. Sona, temporal prime directive is in effect. Please, whatever you see in this future ship, please delete upon returning to our time zone, our timeline.
Thankfully, Maddox isn't here.
Yeah, that would have been interesting if Maddox was here. I'll ping him later and see where he was. Anyways, there's probably about a period of about 30 minutes before you all would hear sort of the low hum of impulse engines. And looking up, you see that there is a 25th century shuttlecraft. I don't really have a token or a specific type of shuttle, but suffice to say it is large enough and equipped with a tractor beam, and it locks on to your crash shuttle, begins to lift you up into the air, and then it very gracefully begins to take you towards the Majestic. And eventually, again, looking out of the windows, you will see the hull of a very sleek-looking ship. It is about 200 meters long. It is 45 meters tall. It's about 87 meters across. So it's basically about the size of a Saber class, or maybe even a Nova. And I think I've got a handout for this. Yes, I do. This is the ship you are seeing. As I said, it is a very sleek design. And at the moment, this vessel is sort of nestled in a ravine of sorts. It doesn't look like the ship has crashed. Like there's no signs of external damage. There's no signs of sort of scar marks on the sides of the ravine. So your best guess is that the Majestic simply landed here.
Locke kind of reaches for his tricorder, sighs, and reluctantly taps it, ignores it.
All right.
I want to scan it so badly.
As do we all.
Unless anyone decides to jump out of the shuttle or something along those lines.
Nope.
What'll happen is you are tractored into the shuttle bay of the Majestic. And waiting for you there, as you all sort of poke your head out and see who's there, you of course see a human gentleman. He has a very stoic-looking face, and he kind of has hard features to him. If you had to guess, he's probably from Earth, if only because you're detecting a very faint accent. That would indicate as such, because I imagine, even though we see on the shows, everyone speaking English, I imagine that there's still these sort of subtle inflections to people's speech that would let you pick this sort of thing out. With him is a Orion female, and by the pips on her collar, you're able to tell that she holds the rank of Lieutenant Commander. There's also a Cation female. This rank is the lieutenant. And as you sort of step out, the captain sort of meets you halfway skull and extends a hand. And he says, Captain, it is a pleasure to meet you in person. May I introduce my chief engineer, Naheen, and my science officer, Sanoa.
A pleasure, and I'll shake his hand. Greetings from the 23rd century, or 20, yes.
24th.
24th. Greetings from the 24th century, Captain. I'm Captain Barton Skull, and the rest of my crew, Lieutenant Commander Murthrin, Lieutenant Junior Grade Sona, Chief Medical Officer Commander Beckett, Lieutenant Locke, and an Ambassador Grareen from the Tholian Assembly.
So, right away, Captain Ukai kind of not to snub you or anything, but he does immediately kind of go over to Green, and he performs a very complex sort of hand gesture. If I had to describe it, it's very similar to a sort of a maitre d' at a very high class restaurant where they kind of do a twirl with their wrists and then bow. It's very similar to that. And Green says in response to this, says, "You know of our greeting." And Ukai says, "Of course. We are on this planet on the behest of the Tholian people. But let us meet in the conference room instead of here in the shuttle bay. Please, if you'll follow me." And let me just copy everybody's token over.
With each corridor I walk through, I'm mentally counting the number of forms I'm going to have to fill out for the temporal investigations when we return.
I'm trying to look straight ahead at the floor, not looking at the walls.
Yeah.
Not looking at
the really cool tricorders they have, or the phasers that just seem to materialize out of nowhere, or
holographic phasers, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Murthrin's sort of spending half his time just watching Green like he's expecting her to just explode like a champagne bottle.
Oh dear. Actually, I wasn't able to figure this out from my research. Would anyone know if Tholians would be detectable by Beta Z or Betazoids?
I have no idea.
I would think
which answer is more fun.
My thought is that they are just too alien a physiology, but that's up to the GM.
Yeah, that was my thought as well.
They could detect my highway world. They could detect them, but they just couldn't interpret them. It's just like gibberish.
That depends, because like Betazoids can like get emotions off very alien creatures, and then there's some humanoid species that they just can't get.
Mm-hmm. Let's go with that. Let's say that you are detecting her presence, but you're not able to get a feel for what specifically they are feeling at the moment.
Which is only making me more nervous.
So you are eventually led to the conference room, and waiting for you there is a human woman. Her rank is commander, and you guys can kind of situate yourselves around the table as you wish. But Ukai says, "Please sit. May I also introduce my first officer, Commander Delacroix." And Delacroix says, "It is a pleasure to meet you." And, everyone takes their seat. Green does kind of linger in the back since, Tholians don't do chairs. And I know the picture doesn't show enough chairs, but let's assume there's enough for everyone. Yeah. So once everybody is situated around the table, Ukai sort of leans forward, temples his fingers, and says, "So, Captain Skull, where would you like to begin?"
Well, I will begin to appraise you with the circumstances that brought us here. Go into the short answer of how we ended up in Tholian space, led up to the escort to the planet, or to the distress call to the planet, to the two very different temporal zones on the planet, to discovering what I assume to be his ship's signature, and here we are.
That is.
Is your ship detecting any temporal anomalies in the area?
Yes, actually. Perhaps I should also start at the beginning. Initially, we were contacted by the Tholian Assembly to help investigate a buildup of subspace interference around this planet. I think it's probably worth saying that obviously we have a much more advanced relationship with the Tholians, shall we say, in our timeline. But anyway, we came to this planet to investigate, and sort of standard operation, we landed the ship, and immediately upon landing, we experienced a bit of difficulty. And Ukai kind of nods at Lieutenant Sonoa, and Sonoa picks up, and she says, unknown to us, there are, or there were, whichever present tense you would prefer, there are solanogen crystals that are abundant within the planet's crust. And because of this, our warp field began to play havoc with the crystals. For those unaware, solanogen crystals are sort of a subspace-only substance. So the fact that they are in a stable form on this planet means, that such anomalies are very easy to sort of cause. As a result, we were able to detect a time dilation effect beginning to ramp up outside of our ship, but we did not know the extent of the damage until you've told us just now.
Do you have any theories to reverse the problem?
This time, Naheen speaks up, and she says, we have several, and she looks very nervously at Green and says, I'm not exactly sure how much of it I should say in present company. I say that as politely as I can, of course.
Okay. I'll look at the captain, Captain Ukai. Captain Ukai, I understand that we are out of your time zone, or out of your time, and we probably can't be of much help, but if there is anything that myself or my crew can do, please let me know.
So Ukai thinks for a moment and says, Miss Delacroix, would you see to Ambassador Green's needs for a moment? And Delacroix says, yes, of course. And she stands, goes over to the ambassador and says, if you would follow me, I will... oh, right, she has an accent. If you will follow me, I will show you something that might be of interest to you. So even though, Mirthrin, you're not really able to detect certain emotions or, figure it out, you would at least get the sense that Green's attitude has changed to something new. Doesn't feel hostile, but again, it's kind of hard to tell. In any case, it does appear that Green goes with Delacroix, and the two are now no longer in the room, which gives you some wiggle room to ask probably some more in-depth questions.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I don't actually know which questions to ask. Okay. Now that the Tholian's out of the room, without going into too many details, is Starfleet in a friendly position with the Tholians, or is this a mission that has been brought about by strange means?
A little bit of both, Captain. We recently signed a treaty that dealt with sort of a temporal accord in that any sort of temporal disturbance or time travel would be strictly regulated, if not outright forbidden. The Tholians, as you probably well know, are not a fan of any sort of time travel. So they pretty much signed up right away. Like, they came to us and were like, we want to be a part of this. So part of that treaty, though, meant that any sort of disturbances in the timeline or any sort of potential breaks in the space-time continuum were to be handled by a joint task force of member species who have signed the accords. So that's why we're here.
So you're here. Where's the Tholians?
That I'm not sure. We lost contact with them very shortly after landing.
May I see one of your pads, please?
Oh, of course. And he sort of slides one over to you.
I'm going to poke on it, bring up a place on the world. A map of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring, on a hunch, I'm going to poke in the coordinates of the Tholian research facility.
Mm-hmm.
Slide it back to him. Is this possibly... Are these coordinates of any interest to you or the Tholians?
He takes it for a moment, raises an eyebrow, passes the pad to Sonoa. Sonoa taps on it for a few moments, says, yes, the research outpost. Yes, they were the ones who first detected the anomaly beginning to form.
Yes, we received a distress call in our time, which brought us to this world.
It's conceivable that if there was temporal problems, the distress call could have been sent from the future and traveled back in time.
It's a possibility.
Unfortunately, I can't confirm that because our sensors were in read-only mode at the time, so we didn't record the distress call.
Yes. Due to the situation between us and the Tholians in our time, we don't have a lot to work with.
Did you detect a distress call being dispatched from the Tholians at all?
No, Lieutenant, we did not.
Let's see.
However, if I may be so bold, and he picks up another pad, begins typing on it, passes off to Naheen, and Naheen begins working on something. I will be blunt and say that I don't really care much for the Temporal Prime Directive. In my line of work, really, the whole purpose of the Majestic's mission thus far has been investigating such anomalies. I guess you could say we have a sort of rapport with the Department of Temporal Investigations.
Well, at least someone does.
Yeah, if only your rapport could extend into the past.
The reason I say this is because I believe there are difficulties in our future. And Naheen finishes up working on the pad, hands it back to him, and she says, what I was going to say earlier about possible ways to fix the situation. I've done a quick bit of math in my head, and I believe if you were to bring your ship into the atmosphere, you could tractor us back into space. Of course, we would have to shut down our warp core before you did such a thing to prevent the temporal fractures from growing, but that would be the easiest method of solving the problems we're facing. However, unless the Ophion has secretly been a part of some temporal... what's the word I want? Some sort of temporal technology testbed. The problem with that plan is the Majestic would be trapped in your time.
Awkward cough from Bertram.
Well, it doesn't take a Beta to notice that everyone immediately started getting sick, so... Well, yes. In fact, the Ophion is the test bed for the Chronoton sensors.
Ah. So that actually makes this next bit easier. And he slides over the pad that he had Naheen worked on. And when you look at it, Captain, you see the schematics for a quantum slip space drive.
Let's... This looks similar to the stuff Voyager brought home that was distributed among the captains for review. This is one of their slipstream drives.
That is correct. In our time, quantum slip space drive is almost standard across all Starfleet vessels. My understanding, based on what records we have of your ship, is that you are a Prometheus class, yes?
Correct.
In that instance, from what I know, and he looks very pleadingly at Naheen, and Naheen picks it up for him, and she says, what I've put on the pad there is a temporary sort of slip space drive. By default, the Prometheus class is not able to maintain a stable corridor for very long. However, if the flight plan you told us about that the Tholians were keeping you on is correct, your use of this temporary drive could get you back to Federation space within mere seconds. However, this is not without risk, because the Prometheus class is not designed for QSD. You could very well end up much farther off course, or in perhaps what might be a catastrophic failure. There is a risk that you could potentially destroy your ship in the process.
I'm just going to pass the pad down to my crew and go, and not deliberately ignore them, but face my attention away from our rescuers towards my crew. And okay, thoughts?
It's a good plan B. If we don't think the relationship with the Tholians is going well, we can just QSD away. But I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't take a leisurely, slow route. It's slower, but it's safe.
I mean, there is still a question that no one's really brought up yet.
Oh.
What do we do about Grareen? Because I can't imagine the captain of the Tholian dreadnought is going to be particularly thrilled when he finds out that in the not too distant future, the Federation and the Tholian Assembly have a peace treaty.
As far as I'm concerned, the matters between Tholians should remain between Tholians. Let's focus on getting ourselves back to the present, and then we can worry about what happens after that.
Of course, there's still the issue of fixing whatever happened at the facility that caused this in the first place.
Agreed. Would there... Sorry. Captain and... I'm sorry, the name isn't showing for the green girl.
Naheen.
Nahim, thank you. Captain, Nahim, are your sensors indicating anything from the research facility that it indicates that they're working on anything temporally related? Or is this simply a matter of interaction between your ship and the Soligen crystals?
I believe it to be the latter.
Okay. So
if we remove your ship from the equation, it should stabilize? Or we have a chance to stabilize it?
Sonoa speaks up and says, yes, that is our understanding. Or at least our best guess.
And so if we pull you out, you'll be stuck in our time.
That is correct. And Naheen sort of looks at the captain, sort of mouths something wordlessly. And Murthrin, remind me, you're empath, not telepath, right?
Yep, empath.
You get the sense she is deliberately holding something back, and she's subtly trying to ask the captain if it's all right to say something. And the captain gives a very slight nod, and Naheen says, there is, well, two other ideas that I'm hesitant to bring up, but I know at least one would sate the Tholian ambassador you brought with you. That, of course, being that we outright just destroy the Majestic. Obviously, you would have to take all 95 of our crew aboard the Ophion, but it would solve the problem.
If even a fraction of Federation technology remained from the destruction of the Majestic, that would theoretically be giving the Tholians access to century of advanced technology.
And even granting your science, keeping your science personnel or engineering personnel or anyone really would contaminate the Federation, would contaminate Starfleet's technological progress, since what we are still inventing you guys already have.
You'd have to live an entire life alone, sequestered, would be a
It'd be a comfortable
continued
life, but
basically solitary confinement.
Which,
I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be that bad. I mean, once clearance got sorted out.
okay, that
okay.
one option. What about the other one?
The other one. The best way to describe it is that and again, this is our best guess, if the Solanogen crystals are bombarded by heavy levels of chronotons, I believe that the interaction between the crystals and the Majestic's warp core would be disrupted, which would allow us to leave under our own power and remain in our own time. However, there is an extremely large risk that doing this would cause the crystals to resonate. And should that happen across enough of the planet's surface, or the crust, I should say, there is a risk of not only the Tholian outpost being destroyed by seismic activity, but the entire world being plunged into sort of molten chaos, volcanoes, tectonic shifts, very major natural disasters.
And would that be happening in the 25th century or the 24th century?
That I'm not sure about, though if I were a betting woman, I would say that it would happen in all times at once.
I'm starting to understand where this distress signal may have come from.
That might still be if we can pull it off, that might be the least bad. If we
Agreed.
can pull the Ophion slightly closer into orbit, we might be able to link its sensors with the Majestics. Since it's scanning slightly in the future, that might give us a little bit more time to anticipate the problems and adjust for the Soligen reaction.
Yeah, I don't think we can really risk bringing the Majestic back into the 24th century in the middle of Tholian assembly space. I mean,
Agreed. They have enough problems with one.
they're twitchy enough when we popped up in the middle of their territory. I can't imagine what will happen when a Federation ship from 100 years in the future suddenly pops into existence.
And even if we bring aboard their crew, that suddenly means the Ophion is a very tempting target, military-wise.
I mean,
Yes.
quite aside from that, our supplies will be severely taxed over the next 6 months.
Captain Ukai, I cannot allow the contamination of the 24th century. And you have to I'm as well as someone who has investigated temporal anomalies, I'm sure you know this potential damage far more than I do, but any temporal incursion into our time within Tholian space will lead to the death of you and your crew, possibly even my crew if we are found to be harboring you. Despite the high risk to the planet, it's my belief that we should proceed with the chronoton particles to stabilize the crystals.
And at the very least, we might have enough time to evacuate the Tholians from our time before we attempt it.
Agreed.
Ukai looks again at the chief engineer and the lieutenant and says, Sanoa, Naheen, is there any way we can set up some sort of subspace plexing beacon so that we can communicate across timelines? Or not timelines, but time bubbles. And Naheen and Sanoa kind of look at each other, and Sanoa says, I think I could rig something up, yeah. Am I assuming you basically want to time the evacuation or preparation of the Tholian outpost with our bombardment of the crystals? And Ukai sort of nods.
Thank you. While it takes us some time to get that ready, Captain, if I may ask for some assistance in fully treating my Lieutenant Locke's injury. He took a nasty spill on the shuttle, and Beckett helped him as best he could, but you have a fully functional sick bay, and we currently do not.
Well, if you don't mind potentially 25th century medicine interfering in the timeline. And he says this very jovially, like, you know, he doesn't really think too much of it, and he's trying to make a joke, so...
I'm just going to look at Beckett with an eyebrow raised.
Don't worry, Captain. I will ignore anything that I will potentially in the future invent myself.
That's all I can ask for, Chief.
All right. Miss Sonoa, would you kindly see Commander Beckett and Lieutenant Locke to the sickbay, please? And Sonoa stands and says, gentlemen, if you will follow me.
Which we do.
All right. So the three of you filter out. That just leaves... yes, there is a Prometheus on the wall. That just leaves Mirthrin, Skull, Naheen, Sona, and Captain Ukai.
As much as I am very tempted to explore the rest of the ship and get to know its people, as well as see if the Skull symbiote still survives in some way, shape, or form, I think it's best that we limit interaction with this timeline. And I'm all for just suggesting that we wait in the shuttle.
That is your prerogative, Captain. However, I don't think the Department of Temporal Investigations will mind too much if you have a good meal or a good drink while the repairs are underway.
I mean, I rarely say no when drinks are offered.
Wonderful.
And this is not
He
one of those
rarely
times.
doesn't, Mirthrin says, rubbing his temples.
I'm just going to, as I get up, I'm going to just try to surreptitiously glance on the ships on the wall just to see if by chance one of them says Ophion.
No. All the ships you're seeing on the wall appear to be other ships that were named Majestic.
Ah. That makes sense.
So it's like a Nova, Intrepid, and Prometheus. So those all would have... Someone lost a lot of ships really fast.
Or maybe there's another war that no one's told us about yet.
I'm sure there is.
Well, I mean, how quick did it take the Arcadia to lose theirs?
Ooh.
Shots
Cheat on
fired.
the Sunday team.
There were shots fired indeed.
And there was a firefight. Oh, dear. Sadly, Matic is not here to hear that.
Yes.
Anyway, so unless anyone kind of has other things they want to bring up with the crew of the Majestic, what I say will happen then is you guys have about 2 to 3 hours of downtime in which, Beckett, you of course are able to properly heal up Locke. You also are introduced to the EMH Mark 7. Who is played by Morgan Freeman, because why not? As for everyone else, Skull, Mirthrin, Sona, etc., Ukai does take you to the Majestic's equivalent of 10 forward, and more or less treats you to whatever drink is your flavor or your preference. But eventually, what happens as you all sort of gather back at the shuttle is that Green will actually pull aside Captain Skull.
Yes, Ambassador.
How do I want to say this? Captain, from what I have seen and what I understand of the situation, I believe there to be only one potential course of action that is acceptable for us, and that is to destroy this ship.
Yeah, no. Not happening. We have come upon a way that will allow this ship to continue its life in its time zone, as well as stabilize the planet and and even save the lives of those Tholians on the Research Council.
Go ahead and roll me a. We'll do a presence plus command here.
Okay.
Let's make this difficulty a 3.
Okay. Diplomacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, can I use my diffuse the tension talent? Add a bonus d20 when persuading someone not to resort to violence.
Yeah, that would definitely apply here.
Okay. And I will spend 1 point of momentum to add 1 extra dice.
Okay. Well, would you look at that? You get 3 momentum back. Nice.
That brings us over. Brings us a cap.
Yeah, brings you a cap. Once again, Skull, your mastery of the spoken language and diplomacy is unparalleled.
Take that, Picard.
Handwave, you don't need to blow up this ship. I don't need to blow up this ship.
This is a Starfleet matter. Starfleet in the 25th century regrettably caused this incident, and we have a Starfleet in the 24th century has a way to fix the problem. You have trusted us this far, and we have kept to our word. Please continue to accept our word that we have a solution in place that does not involve the destruction of anyone.
I will allow this attempt. However, if this solution of yours is not a fruitful one, I will be informing Commander Nostrine to attempt to get closer to the planet.
You will do what you'll need to do, and I will do what I need to do. Our shuttle leaves in precisely, I look at my chronometer, 27 minutes. Please be on board by that time, unless you wish to remain in the 25th century.
So Green doesn't say anything, but she does, go into the shuttle and just sort of sits there and waits.
I go back and quickly grab another drink for the road.
All right. So, I will now put you guys back on this map. So, at this point, your shuttle is repaired. It does not contain any 25th century Easter eggs. But out of curiosity, would you have kept the pad with the QSD information on it?
I think if no one had prevented him, Mirthrin would have tried to get a hold of that.
Oh, I would have passed it to Mirthrin.
Yeah, Mirthrin would have pocketed it.
Okay. Good to know. Make a note of that myself. Yeah. All right. So,
I mean, as a captain, I kind of had been kept in sort of a need-to-know loop on what is being done for the fleet, and I know that the Vesta class is, at least in theory, being designed. So, I mean, we'll be holding designs that'll be invented within the next year anyways, so I don't see a problem.
Okay.
We just can't use them until then.
It's like getting book 7 of Harry Potter 2 years old. No big deal.
Spoilers to yourself.
Oh dear. All right. So your shuttle is repaired. You can depart the Majestic whenever you feel ready. Small retcon of what I just said. There is a beacon set up on your shuttlecraft that will allow you to communicate with the Majestic across time zones.
Good to know. All right, Sona. Take us back to our time, please.
Understood, sir. Shall I head back to the Ophion, or are we headed to the outpost?
Let's head to the outpost. Let's head back to temporally neutral space so we can communicate with the Ophion first.
Understood, sir. And, Sona takes the shuttlecraft out of the Majestic's Bay, angles upward, and heads back up into space. And
Buckle up.
yeah, let's call this as our break. So be back at no later than 4:10 Eastern time.
Here we go.
Which is about 8 minutes from now, I think.
Yuppers.
Yeah, it's 8 minutes from now. All right, BRB. All right, I'm back. I think I'm still muted for the guys, but let's deal with some Twitch things. Looks like we got a follow from Nightmare Phoenix. Thank you for that. I believe that brings us to, yes, 48 followers. Only 2 more to go before that magical 50 number. So again, if you haven't already, I'd love it if you click that lovely follow button here on Twitch. If you haven't already, no big deal if you don't. It just helps me out. Lets me get more materials for the guys, that sort of thing. Other than that, hopefully everybody's having a good time watching. And again, I appreciate and love hearing how much fun you guys have both playing and with watching. But yeah, let me unmute myself for everybody else. And I'm back. I think everyone is literally muted. All right, so I guess I'll answer questions in chat. So Sterling, I think what I'm going to do, since Matic wasn't here, I'm going to say that Matic was a little bit preoccupied with dealing with Sienna, the AI. I think it'll be somewhat fitting, but also a little bit funny if we qualify that as being he is so involved with his work that because the ship hasn't gone to yellow or red alert yet, that no one's kind of filled Matic in. So he's still tinkering in his lab.
I'm back, but munching on something, so muting.
Welcome back. Yeah, you're not wrong, Bishop. Matic is going to really kick himself for missing this one. Though personally, I think it's sort of ironic that he was the one who initially sort of quote unquote stole the chronoton sensors during the Arcadia's sort of temporal mission. So who knows what he would have done here. Yeah, you're not wrong, Sterling. He would have probably scanned everything and tried to get a copy of the Majestic's data cores. Guess I should do a little bit of token work while we're waiting.
I might push us back to the system map with all the temporal anomaly bubbles at some point.
Okay, yeah, just let me know.
As I request something silly.
We do silly here. Silly is perfectly acceptable. All right, another 2 minutes on break.
Oh, as a heads up, now I probably won't be able to make next session since I remember now.
Okay. That would be the 19th, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Murthrin, you're back, yeah?
Yep, just got back.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you are also out next weekend.
Yes, I am going to be off at a board gaming convention.
Oh, well, have fun with that.
And at normal session time, I will be in a car somewhere south of Auckland.
Okay. All right, so both Murthrin and Locke are out. All right. I think what we'll do then is we'll do a sort of fluffy lower deck style episode, but the captain will actually be here for one of them. So we'll get to do something fun with his character. All right, so I think we're just waiting on Beckett, and we're waiting on Skull at this point.
Yep, so recently re-downloaded Armello and wondering why I ever uninstalled it.
Not familiar with that.
Easiest way to describe it is Redwall, the tactical tabletop game.
I mean, it's been ages since I read Redwall.
Yeah, I mean, it's not set in that setting, but it's the similar sort of deal with anthropomorphic animals in a fantasy medieval setting.
So, mouse guard?
Yeah, actually, that's not bad idea. The basic plot is the king, who is of course a lion, is succumbing to the corruption of the rot, and his once wise and benevolent rule is twisting into madness. So the various clans of Armello are like, well, no, the king's literally going mad. Someone has to claim the throne. Cue Game of Thrones.
So Game of Thrones people were
and basically the idea is you go around like a hex tile map, collecting treasures and cards and fighting like these sort of corrupt dead crow bane things and sort of collecting resources and sort of trap cards to play all over the map, and eventually try to defeat the king in one of 4 ways. You can either slay the king, you can become corrupted by the rot yourself and sort of defeat him and sort of take his essence into yourself and become the new corrupt king of Armello. You can collect a bunch of spirit stones and purify the king, or you can, because the rot is slowly consuming him, so you can just play out the game until the king dies of the corruption, and whoever has the highest prestige when he dies wins.
That actually reminds me. If ever I could get all of you guys like in real life in a room, I would love to play Twilight Imperium with you guys. I think that would be a good time.
Well, if you want to pay for my plane ticket over from New Zealand, you are welcome to.
Oh, I might be a dirty 1%er, but that would be what, $1,000 easy?
At least.
Yeah. I don't know. I figure, what since we're still waiting on the captain and Beckett anyway. Um, what I do with my Monday group
Yeah.
of D&D?
Yeah, flight from New Zealand to California, which is probably the shortest route, at least 1,200 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah. Um, but what I do with my Monday group of D&D is we've been playing together for about 4 years now, and every couple of years we go to a specific PAX convention. So, as I already tweeted, I'm going to be at PAX West in August, September.
Cool.
But yeah, it looks like Captain's back. Beckett, you're back as well, I think.
I am back, and my mute button works wonderfully, by the way.
Okay, all right. Then let's resume where we picked up, or we dropped off. So you guys are once again in orbit of Cogbosite 2, and yeah, you are, as far as you're able to determine, you are back in your own time zone. You are detecting the Ophion in orbit. You are still detecting the temporal bubbles that plague the system. So yeah,
Okay.
what's your move?
Set up the the interspatial beacon,
Okay.
and just try testing it between us, the Ophion, and the Majestic.
All right. Let's do a scene change because I gotta get better about doing that. So you're down to 5 momentum. But I will say deploying the beacon is as trivial as literally just transporting into space. And yeah, once the beacon is online, you are able to get a a clear signal between all 3 points. However, there is a sort of a delay. Like, whenever you watch the news and someone's like across the world and there's that sort of like 4 to 5 second delay, it's kind of the same thing here.
Just skull to Ophion.
Panek answers. Panek here. Is everything all right, Captain?
Oh, just as well as can be expected with any temporal phenomenon. I'm going to try attempting 3-way communication here. I'm patching in the Majestic from the 25th century.
Correct me, I might have misheard you, Captain. The 25th century.
Yes, they are the Starfleet signature we discovered on the eastern hemisphere of the planet. We are going to attempt to fix the problem by coordinating with them and doing something with the chronoton sensor array. I'll have Locke explain.
So, if we bring the Ophion closer into orbit, and we can scan the Soligen deposits on the surface, when the Majestic begins to stabilize the Soligen, we can scan a couple seconds into the future, letting them know if it's working or not, and have them react accordingly. We'll need to probably link our sensors with them and maintain very tight communication. And hopefully it won't destroy the entire planet at all times.
If it does sadly destroy the planet, we are going to attempt to proactively rescue the scientists from the Tholian personnel from the outpost in our timeline.
Understood, sir. What should I tell Commander Nostrine?
I have an idea for evacuation, Captain.
1 second, Locke. I'm going to turn to Ambassador Grarain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that your captain would settle for nothing less than the truth.
I have already informed him of the situation.
Please inform him of our findings, Commander. I think any mistruth will be identified really quickly.
Understood, sir. We will remain at station keeping, and please let us know if you require any assistance.
Very well. We shall attempt to maintain communication to both parties through this beacon as we travel to the research facility.
Understood, sir.
Because, time jump was fun once. Let's do it again. Let's... Sona, if you please take us to the Tholian outpost.
Alrighty. In stark contrast to your first breaching of a bubble, this one nothing seems to happen. You just sort of coast on in. Sona begins sort of circling the area of the outpost, and what you see out of the windows and the view screens is you see that sort of nestled beneath a rocky overhang is what would be best described as this sort of crystalline growth. It is ruby red in color, and much like with the Tholians, there's this sort of murky fluid that's circulating beneath the surface. The shuttle sensors are not able to penetrate the crystal, but this is matching up with where the outpost is supposed to be.
Locke, what was your idea for transporting the researchers?
If we split the Ophion into multiple sections, we can position them in space between the bubbles and have kind of a line of connection, a chain for transporters. And we pair that with the shuttle, we can beam them from the outpost to various pads along the chain and then directly onto the Tholian ship.
Why is an interesting idea?
Therefore, we bypass those bubbles and we wouldn't have to risk transporting them through a potentially temporally displaced region of space, which could be bad.
I'm just going to look at Ambassador Green and go, well, there goes that Starfleet secret. Very well. Coordinate with Miss Shatsu on the positioning of the Ophion. We need to ensure that the sensor suite, though, is closest to the planet.
All right. So as that all happens, Sona kind of again looks back and says, Captain, where would you like me to land? Near the outpost, a little bit ways away, directly outside?
Let's... Ambassador, is there a message of Is there a standard message that we could transmit, letting them know that we are friendly and here on behalf of the Tholians?
I have tried myself several times, but either they are incapable of answering or they are not receiving my messages.
Very well. Put us down rather close, Miss Sona.
Understood, sir. And yeah, just lands the shuttle, no problem. And it's probably all of maybe a 5-minute walk between where you've landed and where the outpost is. If I had to describe the terrain, it is somewhat rocky, somewhat desert-like. Sort of a stark contrast from the jungle you were just in. The good news is the temperature is a lot more tolerable, but the closer you get to the outpost, the more you realize that it's probably Tholian conditions inside. So I'm going to be nice and say that you maybe brought EV suits or they're standard on the shuttle.
I'd assume we were expecting to go down to rescue Tholians, so...
Yeah. So you do have EV suits on hand.
That would be a wise thing to put on, I think.
All right. So, out of curiosity, who would be going into the outpost? I mean, I'm assuming you all might be, but in case someone wanted to stay behind.
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't really think of any reason why Mertrin would stay behind.
Okay.
Much as he might want to.
Yeah. probably the same with Beckett. Like, I mean, unless I'm told to stay at the ship, then yeah, I'll go too.
Okay. In that case, the only one who's really going to say anything is Sona, and she'll say, "Sir, perhaps it would be best if I remained with the shuttle in case any Tholians come wandering out this way."
Very well.
So, all of you suited up and now in front of the sort of crystalline growth. You're not really seeing a entrance, at least not at first. As you sort of look around the area trying to figure out how the hell to get in, Green does something. And by that I mean Locke, and really anyone who's paying attention to your tricorder. She's communicating once again using the Tholian sort of radiation burst. And as a result, a sort of crack begins to form in the crystal. And though a door forms, it does not open. And Green sort of looks at it and says, "Interesting. That should have opened the facility proper. It seems that the door is either stuck or disabled."
I'm gonna. Is there a manual release?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know too much about this outpost, but I believe we could force it open.
Very well. I'll give it a token. I'll give it a good try, even though I'm not the model of Starfleet fitness.
All right. Whoever wants to try and get the door open, this would be a fitness plus security at difficulty 2, unless anyone has an argument for another set of attributes and disciplines. This will succeed at cost, but remember that means if you don't succeed, I get to do some complications.
So, which one of us is the strongest?
That would be the android, sir.
I would think so. Sona, if you could please come out to the door. We're in need of your physical capabilities, please.
Understood, sir. And actually, let's check her seat. She has a combined score of 13.
It's higher than mine.
All right.
Murthrin, Doctor, any of you guys all that strong?
Murthrin's fairly reedy.
Yeah.
What are we going with? Fitness and security?
Yep.
Yeah.
13?
Well, you match Sona.
Better than me.
All right. So the question becomes, is Beckett helping Sona or is Sona helping Beckett?
I will help the android.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Someone roll for Sona, and then Beckett, of course, you can roll to assist.
And it's just 1 dice for me, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Where's Sona's sheet? There it is. Fitness.
All right. 1 success already.
Got 1.
What was the difficulty?
Difficulty is a 2.
Okay.
Hey, look at that. You're back to 6 momentum. You are able to get the door open with a little bit of physical exertion. And the good news is about halfway in getting the doors open, the mechanism catches and opens it up properly. And it's a good thing, too, because you are now permitted entrance into what is essentially an airlock. You do see a variety of Tholian suits that are sort of hanging on the walls. And at the moment, the airlock is rated the same sort of atmosphere of the planet. But since you didn't break the door, actually operating the airlock and letting you entrance into the facility at Tholian temperatures no problem.
Everyone check their pressure seals.
Checked.
Can I? I don't know what the role would be, but it just kind of
Mhm.
hit me as a something Beckett might do.
Mhm.
Is there any way I can route everyone's suit's internal sensors to my tricorder? Meaning, as in, if anybody has like, a pinhole or running out of power for some reason, something that it's all done through my tricorder, and to alert me.
I'd say that's probably a very trivial task, especially for you being the CMO. So I'm going to let it
Okay.
happen without needing to spend any momentum.
Perfect. Like I said, it was just an idea that just hit me, and I was like, might as well say something.
Oh, it's a very good idea.
How is our equipment rated for this type of temperature?
So your EV suits should keep you somewhat pleasant. However, every hour you spend in the outpost will require a task to sort of like a Constitution check in D&D sort of a thing.
I'm just actually wondering about the tricorders and phasers and stuff that might be on the outside.
So it's a good thing you asked. So as you guys sort of try to get preliminary scans with your tricorders, you do note that while the tricorders do work, they are getting some form of interference. And mechanically, this interference means that any tricorder operation has a complication range of 17 to 20.
I'll be very upset with the sense of breaking Vanessa. That'd be my tricorder. Sorry, Captain. I named my tricorders.
That's quite all right. My previous host named her ship, so it's not uncommon to personify things that you become attached to. But if you, for some reason, start finding Vanessa more interesting than crewmates, I would strongly suggest talking to Counselor Jisa.
Noted, sir.
All right. So, unless you really want to do anything else, we'll say that the airlock cycles and the interior that you're met with when the other side of the airlock opens. It is a hellish outpost or a hellish interior. The temperature is obviously very high. There is some sort of mist or fog that permeates the corridors. And it might actually help if I put you on the right map. So what I'll say about this map is instead of blue, just kind of imagine red. I tried chroma shifting it and it just did not look good. So use a little bit of imagination. Yeah, you see that the structure or the outpost really seems to be, I guess you would say, naturally formed out of the crystal. Like everything, like the corridors, the corridor walls, the doorways you're seeing, all of them seem to be seamlessly in line with the rest of the crystal. It's a very elegant looking thing, but as you try a few doors, none of them seem to be working.
I'm going to send out a general hail over any frequency, and including just shouting it. This is Barton. This is Captain Skull of the Federation Ophion. We received a distress signal. Is anybody here?
You get silence.
Ambassador, do you sense anything?
No, I am not.
Locke, Beckett, any life signs or any signs of Tholians?
Let me check.
All right. So again, figure out who's assisting whom. If it's Beckett that's doing the task, that would be reason medicine. If it's Locke doing the task, it's reason science. This difficulty is going to be... You know what? I'm going to spend some threat. I'm going to make this a difficulty 4. And I'm going to make the complication range even worse. 16 to 20.
And Locke's still suffering complications from that arm.
Nope, he got fixed on the Majestic.
Oh, yes, he did. I forgot.
That's okay.
Okay, since we're scanning for life signs, I think I'll assist the commander. I'll assist you, commander.
Okay. Reason, medicine. Xenobiology as a focus.
Mm-hmm. I will also say you do have 6 momentum, so you can spend quite a bit.
Yeah. I think I'll spend 3 momentum to get 2 dice.
Okay.
One more. We'll focus, of course.
Wow.
And Beckett, as always, is a momentum generating machine.
All right. So you have, what is that? 3 bonus momentum, which you probably can spend to answer or ask questions. So here's what you're going to learn from your scan. You are detecting... first off, you are detecting, what is it? 9 unconscious Tholians in the immediate area. However, you're also detecting that the outpost itself is split up into 3 instances of time. The first instance appears to be the sort of 2 weeks in the past, quote-unquote normal for this hemisphere. The second instance is what you're guessing is close to the current time. And the third is 2 weeks after the current time.
Okay. Did you say 6 Tholians?
9 unconscious
9.
Tholians.
Captain, I'm as far as life signs, I've gotten 9 Tholians, all unconscious but still alive, and Beckett will kind of tilt his head to Locke. Are you getting the same thing about the temporal anomalies too?
Yes. It looks like this place is fractured as well.
I'm reading 3 different times.
At least that, yes. If they were experimenting in the Tholian crystals, they might have had quite a few samples here that might have been aggravated by the temporal disturbance from the Majestic, further splintering time in the local region.
Well, this just keeps getting more and more interesting.
I thought Tholians were the one species you could rely on to not mess around with time travel.
Well, they didn't so much mess around as time travel as we're in the area when we accidentally messed around in time travel.
Yes, the Tholians became a victim of a predestination paradox. The Majestic caused the problem, and then in the future found out that or became aware of the problem, and then therefore they caused the problem.
Captain, please do not give the nice Tholian ambassadors reasons to recommend the captain blow us out of the sky.
Well, if anything, this should prove that the temporal treaty that will be negotiated will actually be of good benefit to all our species. Because we are here to fix the problem.
On the Emperor E.T. tray.
Now, he was here when they mentioned that part.
Don't think she was.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Oh, she was. Okay.
Um,
would have remembered that she was there.
Okay. Is the Can I call the Ophion from here? It's called an Ophion?
You don't even get Sona outside in the shuttle.
Why does that not surprise me? I'm guessing transporters are not going to work either.
Probably not.
Okay.
Then I guess we just start dragging Tholians to the entrance?
That might be the only way. If they have their own transporter pad, we could link that to the beacon, but that would require...
Yes.
Tech.
Ambassador, do outposts like this have transporters that will function in Tholian atmospheres?
Yes, but the problem is that the Tholians are likely not to be in their suits.
That is a problem.
The other issue is if this area is 3 different time zones, if we pull them out and stabilize, we'll be returning the Tholians to different time zones. We don't know if we're pulling them from the past to the future.
Actually, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Was I able to tell what parts of the station are in which time zones or time streams, whatever?
Right. So using your bonus momentum to ask questions. Yes, you are able to determine that right now you guys are in the near current time bubble, and the one in the past bubble, that is deeper into the facility, near what you're guessing is the main generator. And then the other future bubble is sort of sparsely situated throughout the facility.
And are all the life signs in the same time bubble, or are they spread across?
The 9 you are detecting are within your own instance of time.
Okay, so as Locke is talking about the people being in all 3, actually, we got a little lucky on that one. All 9 of them are in the time bubble that we're currently in.
Well, that's fortunate.
Well, if there was wood around here, I would knock on it, but
I suspect any wood would spontaneously combust.
I'm guessing so as well.
So Green does add, there were 15 Tholians. Where are the other 6?
I was just about to ask that myself.
Knowing our luck, they're in one of the other time bubbles.
That is.
It would make sense that we couldn't detect them if they were in a different time.
We should proceed into the other bubbles and see if we can't disable whatever experiments they were running, and hopefully that will pull their sections back into this time.
All right. So, do you just sort of start going up to doors and opening them to see what's on the other side?
Was Beckett's scan good enough to give us a map of the facility?
Yeah, sure. I'll let it happen.
And I'll transmit that to everybody's tricorders.
In theory, the center of the various time bubbles should be where the experiments are, if they are localized.
Very well. All right, let's go. And I'll take point, because apparently that's what Tholians like to see.
It is indeed. So the first lab you open the door and look inside, and your tricorders immediately report that this is a future bubble, and inside you see 2 dead Tholians.
Any indication of Soligen experiments?
Yes, in fact. In the middle of the room. So if you to describe the room, it's sort of an octagon, and it's almost set up like a Faraday cage. And in the center of the room, almost on like a pedestal, is this orange crystal that you would be able to identify as being a Solanogen crystal.
Murtha is coming up with ideas, many of which are probably ill-advised.
Any ideas better than none. Yeah. Can these gentlemen, lady, can this be shut down?
So the other thing I should have mentioned, there are consoles in the room. However, they kind of look like Locke's console did not too long ago. They're all blown out, and their readouts are not working. It almost looks like the facility itself in this bubble is dead.
Soligen crystals exist in subspace, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way that we could destabilize what's keeping it as a crystal and return it to subspace?
If you hit it with a good enough phaser blast, yeah.
Actually, yeah, Merthrin's wondering if it's like possible to use a shenanigan crystal to sort of cancel out the temporal bubbles.
I'd say you'd either have to expose it to a very, very powerful antimatter-matter reaction sort of frequency, hence the Majestic and the other shenanigan crystals on the planet, or you would have to bombard it with chronotons. Either would do it, but I don't think you have the equipment for either.
Yeah. Basically, he's wanting to find a way to like get to either the present or the past version of the facility and sort of try and get the Tholians back before they die.
Well, once the time resumes itself and straightens, the accident might never have happened, and these Tholians might not ever have died.
I'll say it depends how confident I am I can pull that off without completely breaking the timeline.
Well, we'll find out.
Yes.
So, do you do anything with the 2 dead Tholians, or do you just sort of move on?
I'm voting that we leave them there and pretend we didn't see them, so that when we eventually save all 15 Tholians, we don't have to worry about timelines being altered.
We should also see if we can find the 9 that are unconscious. We don't know what state they're in. They could be dying. We don't need to be tarrying here dealing with ones that are beyond our help.
Indeed.
Very well. Onward we go.
All right. So you kind of the corridor before you curves off to the right, and then it opens up into what is essentially an atrium. And inside the atrium, there are warning lights sort of flashing, like in and out, in a bright sort of orange yellow. And you are immediately able to see in this atrium there are 5 Tholians, all unconscious, all of different colors, sort of just sprawled out throughout the area.
All right, let's get these. All right, let's get them to a transporter pad.
How easy is it to fireman carry a Tholian?
My understanding of
out of their suits, they're probably fairly light.
Yeah, so my understanding of a Tholian is they're more or less human size. It's just the suits that have the bulk to them. And they are, as Mirthrin said, they are probably fairly light.
Well, they're crystalline, so it might still be a 2-person job.
Right.
Oh, we can try. Might have to take a couple trips. Beckett, is there any chance that we could wake them?
I preferred not to.
Okay. Beckett, is there any chance that they are going to wake up?
I think you're muted, Beckett.
Yes, Beckett, it would help if you unmuted yourself.
Commander Baker,
Can you guys
turn
hear
on
me?
your suit comm.
Yeah,
There you
we
go.
can hear you now.
Yep, your EVA suit mic was broken.
Okay. Yeah. The communications array has been really bad for me, aka Discord's been cutting in and out. So the question of can we save all 9 of them?
Save the several that you have come across that are unconscious. At the
Is it
moment.
safe to move them while they're unconscious?
Or are they going to, is there any possibility that they're going to wake up soon?
I wouldn't think that they're waking up anytime soon. And other than a time shift happening and them ceasing to exist, I think they're okay to leave there. I don't think we need to drag them all with us.
And we do need to. Yeah, do the Tholians have a place on the planet they wanted us to leave them, or just bring them back to their ship?
Bring them back to their ship, I think.
Yeah, that was the initial sort of quote-unquote order that you were given.
Let's find their transporter pad, and
If their transporter pad could be interfaced into Ophion's, we could beam them into Grareen's transporters on the Gamma Bridge.
And it'd be certainly be a lot easier than trying to daisy chain between the Ophion and getting them straight to the Dreadnought.
Agreed. Let's do that.
Because that would probably involve at least 2 or 3 separate relay points along the transport, and we can't do that.
We don't have the momentum.
We have a lot of them.
Yeah, we do. But they have a lot of Tholians. Yes, let's find the transporter room and see if we can't at least get it functional.
Okay. So that would be deeper into the facility.
And in the meantime, Merthrin is trying to figure out from his knowledge of engineering if it would be possible to do something funky with the chronoton sensors and sort of link those up to the transporters to sort of try to lock onto Tholians from a specific time zone underneath the future bubble.
Perhaps tying their signals.
Yeah, basically, what he's wanting to do is sort of get the transporter beams stuck so that they're only transporting in present-day time, and then sort of sweep them over the future bubbles so that if there's any live Tholians sort of hidden underneath the future dead ones, they can lock onto them and bring them in blind, essentially.
I see where you're going with this. I would normally say... You know what, let's do it this way. In order to do that, you would have to spend 2 momentum to create the advantage, and then you would also have to make a difficulty 5 roll for the beam out.
I was expecting it to be 5. What do you think? Do we want to try and risk it to sort of win the no-win scenario?
Let's keep that in our back pocket until we find the transport room and see if we need to burn momentum to get it working in the first place.
Okay.
All right. So you press onward, and it's a very subtle shift, but as you sort of walk through a corridor, there's a subtle change in the atmosphere. And by that I mean it's less misty or foggy, however you're picturing it. The air is a lot more clear. And you round a bend, and you come across another sort of open space, and standing there, talking to one another, are 3 Tholians. Out of their suits, but the only tokens I have are them in their suits, so you'll have to use a little bit of imagination here. But as you come into view, all 3 Tholians just stop what they're doing, turn to look at you, and then they immediately go for their sort of weapons that they have on hand. It looks like a disruptor, or at least what you know of a Tholian disruptor. And I'm going to say you have probably 1 action each to say or do something before they might do something themselves.
I hiss to the captain. Captain, the hand gesture!
Ooh, yes. I'm going to attempt to do that hand gesture that I saw the captain do once.
What difficulty will this be?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what would be the attribute and discipline combination.
I would think control.
I would have gone with daring, personally.
Daring might work too.
Why don't we do daring plus con? Because my understanding of con is that's also sort of your composure stat.
Okay.
Or at least I've seen a few examples of it used that way.
Yeah, composure, hand fatness type thing, yeah.
Oh, this will be fun. Okay.
So let's
Merthrin, in the meantime, is diving behind the nearest patch of cover.
Maybe I should be diving behind our friendly Tholian.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend momentum. And yeah, I'm going to spend a point of momentum and use my diffuse the tension talent.
Okay.
Okay, so
The difficulty is a 4, just so you know.
Yep. Focus diplomacy.
Uh-huh.
Good show.
All right.
Well, that's that.
That's the thing.
Hang on. What can I do here?
Oh, how many momentum did you spend? Was that?
I just spent 1. Ooh.
You have a reroll?
Can I spend 2 momentum to re-roll?
You would have to spend your determination, I believe.
Ah, okay. Trying to see if I have a good determination, a good value for that. I have personal fear must be faced if it is to be overcome. Would that work for this?
Possibly.
not.
What else you got?
I have a support network is necessary to one's health.
Mm-hmm.
And do not say no to opportunity. Those are the ones that I think would be tangentially.
I'll let it happen. Yeah.
Okay.
One of those will apply.
I'll spend my determination then, re-roll one of them.
Okay.
It was daring plus con. Maybe I should have put points into con last time. Oh well. Nope. At least it's not a complication.
Yeah, I was gonna say the complication was what was hurting you. So you do the hand gesture, and this at least gives the Tholian researchers pause, which is enough time for Gareen to sort of come around the corner herself and say, "Do not worry, the Starfleet individuals are with me." And the Tholian researchers sort of look at one another, lower their weapons, and there is a subvocal communication that goes on between them. And eventually one of the researchers says, what is his name? My name is Rapkeen. Though Gareen has told us you are here in response to a distress signal, we do not currently find ourselves in a position of distress.
We, just so that I'm clear, this is the bubble that is further in the past, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We are here to investigate and put right a temporal issue. Currently, we have traveled further back than the temporal issue was created. Are you experimenting with sologen crystals? Or what are they called? Solanogen? Solanogen crystals.
So Rapkeen says, yes, we are studying these Solanogen crystals as a potential power source.
It is my recommendation that you power down your experiments for the foreseeable future. There will be an event that will cause destabilizations and will cause harm to this facility.
Are you suggesting that we remove the crystals entirely or simply shut down all experiments?
I am suggesting removing the crystals entirely. Once the threat has been stabilized, the crystals can be retrieved.
They once again, there's a subvocal communication between the Tholians, and Rapkeen says, "We are not thrilled to do this, but if it will prevent a disaster, it will be done."
Very well. And in my head, I have either solved the problem or I have made it worse. I'm not sure which yet. Yay time!
All right. So, in kind of an eerie fashion, the Tholians begin to fan out and go separate ways. And you'll notice, like, they'll walk through what's an invisible aperture, and they'll sort of, like, vanish into thin air as they go into different bubbles.
Murphy's sort of watching the tricorder, seeing if the temporal bubbles fluctuate.
I think it's best if we remove ourselves from this temporal bubble.
Yep. Backing out?
Yep, backing out, nice and slowly.
All right, how far are you going to back out?
Murphy's intending to head out of the past bubble altogether to sort of monitor the situation.
I'm thinking at least 5 meters beyond the bubble's aperture.
Okay. All right, so you just kind of go back the way you came. And, you find yourself back at the quote-unquote current time, and you're still detecting 9 unconscious Tholians.
Okay. Is the past bubble still there?
It is indeed.
Well, that didn't work like I'd hoped it would.
Well, maybe it did, maybe it not. Either Mirthrin or Locke. If you want to roll me a Mirthrin would be a reason engineering, Locke would be a reason science. Difficulty here would be a 3.
Alrighty.
In fact, you both
Spend
can
some
roll.
momentum with this.
I don't mind.
Reason science?
For you, reason engineering.
Captain, did you give me a focus? Was that just for a scene, or was that for?
That was just for a roll.
Okay.
I can do it again if you'd like.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Alright, so... Don't think I've got anything I can spend to get rid of that complication.
Alright. Well, maybe Locke will do better.
Block's thing isn't working.
There we go.
I can use cautious to re-roll that 20 as well.
Okay. All right. So Locke, even though you're not, the guru of temporal mechanics, a thought occurs to you that while you might have sort of set into motion a way to prevent the research outpost from more or less going tits up, however, the fact that the Majestic is still actively causing the time to shatter, your best guess is that you've got to remove the Majestic from the equation before everything will right itself.
Okay, so...
So we can definitely remove the
Yeah,
Majestic
yeah.
from the equation, and time should fix itself, but then Majestic's still stuck in the front.
Well, no, like, it'll fix the problem, but if the Tholians are still dead after that, we won't be able to go back and refix the problem because the temporal rift will have sealed up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, based on what the Tholians said, they'd probably be okay with that, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Next stop.
Do we
I
want to risk
think
it?
Sorry, run me through that process again.
Basically, like, what we just told the Tholians to do might have solved the problem, but we won't know until we've sort of hooked up with the Majestic and got them out of the equation, and at that point the rifts will seal up, and if we haven't solved the problem is permanently stuck like that.
Right. Okay. We should probably find the transporter next so that we can coordinate beam out of whoever we can.
Okay. Unfortunately, when you do find what passes for a Tholian transporter, it is in the future bubble, or a future bubble, and is
Of
thus
course it is.
inoperable.
Okay.
Of course it is.
I guess we're just going to have to hope for the best.
Very well. I'll turn to the ambassador. Ambassador, I don't think we can evacuate these people, or your people, with safely until we stabilize the time stream. But if something goes wrong in the time on this planet might not survive. We're going to find out. Back to the ship.
All right. So as you walk back, Green does comment, sealing the temporal rifts is worth the Tholian sacrifice.
Sadly, this is, as much as I am not one to sacrifice life, I am in agreement with you on this. The timeline is a critical thing to keep in one piece.
All right. So, you go all the way back out. You go to the shuttle. I'm guessing you take the shuttle back up into space?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yep.
Okay. So, you go back up into space, and what's the play?
The play is back on the bridge. What I'd like to do is we'll keep the ship will perform the Chronoton bombardment as directed by the Majestic.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep transporter lock on the Tholian facility in case something does go wrong. We can at least try to get something.
Mm-hmm.
And then cross our fingers, pray to the machine spirits, and if Ordo Kronos is watching, maybe they will help.
Don't forget the doctor. Maybe the doctor can help out too.
Yeah, the doctor's good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Doctor Who?
Exactly.
I love it.
That explains why you generate so much momentum every time you roll.
Oh dear. All right. So, how do I want to do this? Because you guys
Now,
have
if
kind
we
of
can just
taken...
aim the Stargate's wormhole through a black hole.
So you guys have actually kind of gone off script here, quote unquote. So I've got to readjust some numbers here.
No plans for its contact with the players.
Exactly. Let's do it this
Or with
way.
Starfleet.
I'll be right back, guys. I really need to.
That's okay.
I'll be back.
Let's do it this way. There's going to be 2 difficulty 5 rolls.
Ooh.
The first is going to involve coordinating your sensors with the Majestics to prevent, or at least attempt to prevent, a catastrophic Solanogen resonation. The second task, assuming the first is successful, is going to be... we'll say will be a... We'll say an engineer, some sort of a daring engineering role that will sort of... how do I want to say this? Basically, you will take over the bombardment of the Solanogen crystals from the Majestic as the Majestic lifts off. And that way, it's not... the onus isn't purely on the Majestic to, escape, kind of a thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, we are confronted with the first difficulty 5 task. It would be reason and science. This time I'm going to say, instead of sensor science, I'm going to say computer science. Because I feel like the computers are going to have to be crunching a lot of numbers very quickly.
And I do have technical expertise, which lets me re-roll a d20 for free, so it probably makes sense for Merthrin to do that.
Okay. Again, it would be reason science for the players, which one of you is rolling. Remember, it is a difficulty 5, and you have 3 momentum at the moment, as well as some determination, at least some of you anyway.
So Locke can take the point on that.
Yep, sounds good. Because the reroll can be the ship's die, and I can potentially... Although, mind you, looking at my values, I don't really have anything that would get me rerolls.
So, spending determination, since we don't want the planet to blow up, you can't uncross a line.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I'm going to spend my determination right away to get the extra die that's an auto crit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And spend 1 momentum for 1 more die. Actually, I suppose it'd have to be 3 since I've already got.
Now, if we're both spending momentum, do we track the increases separately, or do they count as part of the same thing?
I would say separately.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to spend a momentum. I'm going to spend 1 momentum. 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 1 momentum
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. Well, in that case, I'll spend... I mean, this is the bit that we really want to make sure works properly. So, yeah, I think I'm going to spend all 3 momentum and generate 3 threat to get the full 5 dice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually spending threat's a good idea too.
I mean, I will take as much threat as you want to give me.
Would particle physics count for chronotons?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Would data analysis for
For
crunching
you,
those
yes,
numbers?
since you are working with the computers to crunch the numbers.
Okay. And I will roll the ship as well, because I can use my ability to re-roll that if that fails.
So I got
Okay.
2, 3, 5 for me from that.
Sciences plus science, was it?
Computer science.
Yeah,
right.
and I will re-roll that. Oh dear. I flew too close to the sun.
All right, so here's how narratively how this is going to play out. The Majestic, once you give the go-ahead, begins bombarding the local area with chronotons. At the same time, it begins to lift up off of the surface and angle itself out of the atmosphere. Right as it gets to the stratosphere, the Ophion's bombardment of chronotons sort of takes over. And as the Majestic approaches the sort of end of the bubble, there's a disturbance. And that disturbance is that something has gone very wrong with the crystals. They haven't started resonating, but from what you can tell, they are shifting the bubble in which the Majestic is contained.
So, like, the bubble's moving with the Majestic, or?
More that it's changing what time the Majestic is in. But you don't know if it's forward or backward.
Well, we're already committed, so...
All right, so I would like one person to roll me a 1d1000, please.
Well, I caused the problem. It may as well be me.
Okay.
Wait, problem? What problem?
Yeah, we succeeded on the first part of the roll, so the crystals didn't explode, but we got a complication, and the Majestic's relative position in time is fluctuating.
Oh, okay. This should be entertaining.
All right,
That's
158. Let me consult the chart I drew up. All right.
He has a chart.
I do.
Nerd.
Well, it means if it completely screws us over, he can honestly say it was random chance.
Yeah.
All right, let me do some math here real quick. 24. All right, so the Majestic reaches the edge of the bubble, and it vanishes from sensors, and there's sort of a ripple effect, and you are detecting that all of the temporal anomalies are dissipating and the time is restoring to normal. I guess I'll put you on this page because it's a pretty map. So all the anomalies sort of begin to disappear, and in the process, the subspace interplexing beacon also begins to disappear. But before it goes away entirely, you detect what is possibly a transmission from the Majestic. It's a text-only transmission, and interestingly, if what it says is correct, the Majestic has arrived approximately 6 years after it initially landed on the planet.
I mean,
I
that's not as bad as it could have been.
Hey,
No.
what is that, like a less than 1% fluctuation? I think that's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Plus, anyone who just had a young child, they get to skip all those annoying baby years.
Precisely. So,
So back to the second stage.
yes.
Actually, I just combined them both into the same thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So in that case, let's scan that facility.
Good idea.
All right. So, you give the facility a good old scan, and your sensors do not penetrate it. But, good news. Green does report, I am in communication with the researchers on the planet. They seem to have followed our advice in that they had removed all crystals from the facility. It also appears that now the temporal anomalies have been fixed, that they may resume their experiments. And in what is probably a very rare thing, Green does very slightly incline her head and says, "Your crew has performed admirably, Captain."
I thank you for allowing us the opportunity to help the Tholians. We are ready to resume course back to our sector of space.
Understood. And kind of as we leave the scene, we see sort of an external shot of the Ophion kind of swing back up in line with the Adelasite, and the two vessels jump to warp at the same time. And that's... Oh, go ahead.
I have one final scene I'd like to play out with Murthrin and Locke.
Oh, sure. Where would you like that to happen?
My office, please.
Your office. All right. Nosary does not need to be there. All right. Murthrin has... Okay, there's Murthrin. And Locke, you said, yeah?
Yes, please.
All right.
Maddox too, but he's not here, so I'm not going to worry about it.
All right.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for your contributions to solving the temporal crisis of the Tholians. But I couldn't help but notice a 25th century pad with quantum slipstream drive. Specs seems to have slipped into Murthrin's uniform on the way back.
Murthrin sort of like shrugs apologetically and goes, "I kind of wanted to have something in the back pocket if everything went wrong."
Can you guys do it?
I mean, Murthrin sort of looks over at Locke.
If Voyager could,
Okay.
I mean, there's no rule against Starfleet officers experimenting with quantum slipstream technology in their own time.
Can we perform this operation while at high warp with the Tholians on our tail?
Well, we probably can't hook anything up to the engines, but we could start fabricating components.
and we do have extra warp, a warp reactor. We could hook it up to the gamma warp reactor and build it there, and then we could activate it when necessary. It shouldn't weigh warp drive too much.
We'll have to sacrifice the multi-vector assault mode for the gamma section, but that's doable. All right, gentlemen. You have my permission to proceed. And if there's any temporal investigations fall out, just kindly point them in the direction of my office. Dismissed.
Yep. And as I go out, Murthrin goes, "I'm still not sure whether I'm more worried about the temporal investigations or the Tholians."
Just be thankful it's not both we have to worry about.
If we're being investigated by
time.
temporal investigations, then we're home and safe. So that's problems I can deal with.
I like your optimism, Lieutenant.
And then at one point, Murthrin pauses and goes, "Oh, you don't think the Tholians have a temporal investigations bureau in the future, do they?"
I think every Tholian is part of that. Let's not worry about that right now, Mr. Murthrin. Let's just Focus on the present for once.
All right.
I also style. I'll try, sir. Salutes. Goes out the door.
All right. So that is where we're going to end the session. But before I kill the stream and then do stuff with the players off screen, because some people asked and commented that they liked when we did sort of reputation and adjustments. So for this, everyone who was on the away team, I would like to award you 2 rep rolls. So let's get those out of the way.
Ooh. All right, we have.
And what do we roll for those again?
It is 2d20 because there's 2 rolls, and you want to be under your current reputation score. Let me find the page it's on real fast.
Oh, nope, I fail both.
Oh, I think, let me check the range on that.
Yeah, that's probably within the complication range of the captain.
Yeah, so Captain,
Nope.
what is your
Turns
current
out you
rep?
may come to regret telling us to refer it up to your office.
Yes, my current reputation is 14.
All right, then you go down to a 12. Locke, what are you at?
Probably above 5. I think I'm in the 10s.
Okay.
I am.
Oh, you guys rolled well. That's
It
nice.
says. I'm looking at the wrong sheet. That's why. I'm like, how am I a 10? Because I'm looking at the Ophions.
Oh, that was good.
Nice.
My current reputation is 16.
All right, so you go up to 18.
Likewise.
All right, you go up to 18.
Minus 15.
You go up to 17.
Why does the captain have the lowest reputation of his crew?
Because, yeah, you messed with the temporal prime directive. So you have
Probably.
a troublemaker.
Hey, that actually story-wise isn't a bad complication.
Yeah,
Oh no,
really
it's
not.
yeah.
Okay. The other thing we have to do is it occurred to me as I looked at Sona's sheet during the session. Sona is in dire need of some additions here. So we're gonna take a few moments here, and we're gonna give her some stuff.
Cool.
So
Does she have any talents?
no, she
she's
has
got one.
literally nothing.
Yeah,
is-
I think
she's-
the only.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say the only supporting person that I think does is our Cardassian helmswoman, because I used one of my spotlights to give her a talent.
Right.
Well, I think it's her and Quakenbush because I started him out as a full PC.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I happen to have a full PC version of him lying around.
All right, so first, what we need to do is we need to decide on what attribute of Sona's to increase.
I'm always for stuff that would help her cons.
I'm feeling like daring.
Daring probably would be good. She doesn't have a very well. She has a high daring. She has a higher control.
And well, looking at her lower ones, are any of those ones that she needs to use on a fairly common basis?
Reason or insight, maybe, probably more insight. But I honestly don't see a role in Sona's future that involves presence.
No.
She doesn't have much of a personality. Those subroutines.
I mean, personally, if she's gonna, she's the captain's personal pilot. So, I think her control 11 is good, and I think maybe going daring 11 in case there's something weird, funky, out of the box that the captain asks her to do.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
For that bold, daring, flying type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make it so. So someone change the daring to 11.
I have.
All right. Next, we need to decide on what discipline to increase by 1.
Con is 4, so that would be an obvious one to bring to 5.
Yep.
Um,
Just max out the con. Make her the most amazing pilot ever.
okay. She is an android after all.
Not a
All
bad
right.
idea.
Next, we need to give her 3 new focuses.
Let's see what's she got so far.
Operations.
Well,
Navigation.
I mean, because of something we got into earlier in in our game or in the earlier episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And because Data liked to brag at the amount of forms of hand-to-hand combat he was programmed with,
Mm-hmm.
maybe hand-to-hand combat wouldn't be a bad one.
I
Yeah.
can see it. Yeah.
I mean, especially for androids, because they just get programmed with a whole bunch of different, racial martial arts, and next thing you know, they're the best fighters ever. So,
I was actually going to think logic.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And
Is anything she would have picked up from us as a crew?
Bad humor.
Mixing drinks. Learn how to
Mixing
mix
drinks.
Mixology.
Hmm.
Well, because Data was good at the violin, Sherlock Holmes. She's bound to have like extracurricular focuses.
I'm gonna let you guys decide on her extracurricular focus because I think that's more in character.
Well, we don't have a senior staff poker game for her to, be really, really good at.
nope.
I like the mixology idea. I think that's hilarious.
I would approve
Okay.
of it wholeheartedly.
Mixology. There we go.
I mean, it's the sort of thing which I can see lending itself well to a very methodical, analytical, logical process. It's just like, okay, you just work out the chemical synthesis combinations of various drinks, work out how exactly to mix things in the correctly correct ratios to get this effect.
Never uses a shot glass, just eyeballs it perfectly every time.
Yeah.
You have to she just pours it in directly. She can control the pouring rate exactly.
Instead of mixing the drink, she just sets it down and then decreases the inertial dampeners.
Gives you the meaning to shaken, not stirred.
Precisely.
And
Okay.
it's also,
I was thinking just like it does that sort of slightly cheesy effect where she's standing there and just the arms go all blurry and multi things as to indicate she's doing it super fast.
Yeah. All right. So we have 2 more things to get through. We're going to give her only 2 values for the moment. So what values could she have?
Ooh.
I know it's kind of shitty because a lot of the androids wanted to be human, but a value of better than human. So if she ever has to do anything that a normal human would not be able to do, whether it's reaction time,
I mean,
strength or something?
I think that actually would sort of make sense because, well, sort of the vibe I get off Sona is that she is quite sort of happy to be something other than human.
Yeah, that's fair assessment.
Okay.
As much as happy is a word that applies to her.
So strive to be better than her creator.
Yeah, that'll work.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Second
I mean,
value.
to be fair, it's not that hard to be better than Maddox. Maddox.
Yeah. Well.
He was kind of.
That was a bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he did eventually come around, but
Yeah, it took him a
still
while.
a tool.
Yeah. Let's see. I want to do something like fly straight and true, or It's a bit cheesy.
I mean, I have no problem with cheese.
Yeah.
Leaf on the wind. I'm just glad I got a chuckle out of you guys.
Yeah.
or textbook flying. I don't expect her being a very experimental flyer. She's probably very much of a. By the
So
book.
maybe things should be done by the book.
that would work.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And then finally, we need to give her a single talent.
All right, let's look at the con talents list.
Yep. She currently has efficient evasion, but when I was looking at the commander book, there were some others that were very tempting.
Well, it's all fair game, as long as
I
she,
think-
obviously qualifies for it.
I think the one that I gave the to Lotus was the one about pushing it to the limits.
Ah, yes, push the limits. When you attempt a comp task that's increased in difficulty due to environmental conditions or engine damage, reduce the difficulty by 1 to a minimum of 1. That sounds very much in character.
Yeah,
Okay.
I gave that to Lotus after we did the MVA switch, and we were in the convoy, and we had to go through the meteor shower.
Uh-huh.
That I gave that to her because I didn't fail a single roll with her getting through it, or I think one I did.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Bishop? Push the limit.
It's on page 137 of core.
Of
Although
core.
precise evasion could be pretty interesting, because it lets her do the evasive action thing and then spend 2 momentum to avoid the increased difficulty for attacks.
That's pretty good too, and that would work quite well with the efficient evasion talent that she has.
And being she's Alpha Shift's pilot, she's pretty much going to be the one doing almost all the combat flying.
Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah,
Alright.
do we want her to be better at being dodgy in combat or better at pushing through environmental conditions?
Dodgy in combat.
Yeah, dodging in combat. I like to live.
Precise evasion it is.
Okay. What page was that on?
Also 137 of core.
Of core. Okay, I was still in the commander book. Cool.
All right. So this is where I'm going to end the stream. So thank you to anyone who's watching this on Twitch or YouTube. Of course, players stick around, but those of you watching, thanks, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.